Good evening and welcome to ELOSOFUMARTAKES. This is our 353rd take, live from the Alec Bradley Lone Star Studio of Azle, Texas. I'm your host, Bear Duplisea, as always, and I'm so proud, so pleased, and so privileged to be with you all tonight. This is going to be a fantastic show. We're all freezing our ass off in this country, but that's okay. We'll get through it. For all the people joining us in the north, we know this is normal for you. For us here in the south, this is abnormal. So your weather snuck out a couple nights ago and got down here. You need to come back and take it back with you. So anyway, before we get to formal introductions of our guests of honor this evening, we do have to thank the people that make this show possible. That, of course, is our wonderful sponsors, and tonight's show is brought to you by Drew Estate. Drew Estate is proud to announce the Liga Privada H99 Churrasco exclusively for Cigars International, expanding the acclaimed H99 Connecticut Corojo portfolio with the structure and focus. The 6x50 box press Churrasco delivers a bold expression while retaining the balance, refinement, and complexity that is expected of a Liga Privada H99. The name Churrasco, a nod to fire, tradition, and bold flavor, perfectly reflects the spirit of this exclusive release. Designed around the distinctive H99 Connecticut-grown Corojo wrapper, the box-press Churrasco highlights the wrapper's natural spiciness and earthy undertones. We're going to be talking a lot about flavor tonight. Beneath the wrapper lies a meticulously constructed blend of premium tobaccos, delivering depth and richness without sacrificing nuance. Check out Cigars International today for the all-new exclusive from Drew Estate. And welcome, everybody. This is our 353rd take. And if you are tuning to us live on Facebook, like we broadcast nearly every Sunday night at 9:30 Central, 10:30 Eastern, or if you're checking us out later on our YouTube channel, our video broadcast is courtesy of our friends at Foundation Cigar Company. Yes, Foundation Cigar Company is the sponsor of our video broadcast. Nick Melillo is a well-known cigar maker in the premium cigar industry. He is the founder and owner of Foundation Cigar Company, which produces a range of high-quality, handcrafted cigars. His values include quality, consistency, balance, and flavor. Check out FoundationCigars.com today. And if you're tuning into us later, wherever audio broadcasts are available, whether that be on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Play, Podbean, or wherever you listen to podcasts, be sure you download, subscribe, and review. Tonight's audio broadcast is courtesy of our good friends at Gran Habano Cigars. Honest, compassionate, great cigars. Be sure you download, subscribe, and review today. Check out Gran Habano Cigars. And welcome, everyone. As I mentioned before, this is our 353rd take. We've got hot beverages. We've got layers of. We may look like Eskimos, but we're here to smoke some cigars and talk about them. So without further ado, tonight's guest is sponsored by United Cigars. Smoke one today and start living United. It's Mr. George Brightman. George, how you doing tonight?
Hey, fellow Fumarians. Once again, here I am. We started out the year doing your top 10 and
yes.
Meet Blind, and I'm so excited that you agree to let me flip the tables and send you the other side of the scale, the fancy, the unavailable, the limited, the unicorn, the typically out of reach. And I'm so excited to hear what you have to say about it tonight. But actually, there's two things I want to do before we really get underway. The first is, since you're already fired up, and I don't blame you a bit, like that mug, by the way.
Thank you.
I thought I would ask you to pick out. Yeah, nice mug. I thought I would ask you to pick out what I'm going to smoke right now to kick off. All right?
All righty. Sounds good.
So the first is your first choice is a vintage Mildias.
Ooh, nice.
So this is not a contemporary. This is not from a box that was sitting at my local. And again, one of these days, tech will perfect, cyber sniff, and you'll be able to get a sense of what this is like. It's insane. It's so good. It's absurd. However, there is another choice, which is extremely unique. This is a Diamond Crown, the Julius Caesar. This is a Diamond Crown classic, actually, that Bobby Newman sent me for my 70th birthday.
Oh,
and I
gosh,
don't know
that's
whether you
beautiful.
can see that much of that wrapper, but this wrapper is literally everything that, Stanford and I discussed the very first time he showed me these, and it's everything that it's supposed to be. And then your third choice is also a birthday present cigar that Carlito Fuente picked out and carried it in a suitcase from the DR. And it's
Oh, nice.
as you can see, it's a Forbidden X 2020, the Passion d'Amour. God only knows how old this really is, right? In other words, how long it was resting. But so you tell me what I'm starting with.
Oh man. Um, and I know you've been saving we talked about this earlier today. We were talking about saving our palate and stuff.
Yeah,
And I know you haven't been smoking, so well let's kick
I
off.
kept myself clean.
Yeah, let's kick off I know two of those cigars are manufactured at Chateau de la Fuente, so but let's kick things off with the Diamond Crown, man. Let's start a
Yeah,
little on the lighter side and enjoy
yeah,
the
absolutely.
majesty.
Creamy, creamy. Okay, so thank you for that. I mean, if you this cigar is just so beautiful, and it's listen. There's a lot of people who'll be like, "Diamond Crown, what are you, like this and this project in a way." This is such a glorious cigar, and the whole concept. And I have really sort of been protecting these. This is only the second one of these that I have smoked from this box that Bobby
Hmm.
sent me. Uh,
Oh, that's awesome.
so I'm teed. But now let's get back to my note about what I was saying about housekeeping. When on the 4th, at the beginning of the month, when you sort of launched into the show about the top 10, you did basically a brief rundown about how and why something gets into your top 10,
Right.
um, which I was all in for. In other words, I think that's if you don't set some parameters for a project like what we were undertaking, it's too amorphous for your audience and for everybody, for people who embrace this, to get something out of it aside from having fun laughing at us talking about cigars.
All right.
So to that end, I wanted to talk a little bit about the philosophy that I approached. In other words, what defined how I selected the things that I sent to you as the other side of the coin from what we have been doing every year for several years, right?
Right.
So the most important thing was that I was respecting your formula about the year prior about releases. Now, again, it didn't have your constraints about regular production, widely available, accessible. Instead, these things are the opposite, but they had to be things that I bought, I smoked and I, rated and tested and tasted to fit into, um, let's say, my best of in the exotic category. Um, and it's in that calendar year with one exception. And I thought I should let you know that there are to let everybody in the audience know, I ship you 14 cigars,
Mm-hmm.
two of which I really consider sort of ringers, if you will,
Gotcha.
and one of which probably technically violates the spirit. And by the time we get to the end, I will tell you about a couple of other things that I left out, but with reasons. So, if we, did you tell me that you're smoking number 5 right now?
Number 8. Smoking number
Oh,
8.
could you have already, or you're interested in smoke? So tell me.
The I have the podium left. I have 1, 2, and 3, and I
Yes,
know we're going to talk
right.
about your numbering system here in a minute. I have 1, 2, and
Mhm.
3 left. Um, I didn't get to 5, and I was
Mhm.
especially intrigued by number 12, and I
Number
left that
12, right.
right.
So, and tell me again what you're smoking right now.
8.
Yeah, okay. So you're in a good space. Uh, your palate should be happy. I mean, I
Oh
don't think
yeah,
there's anything there. I don't think there's anything in the mix that I sent you that doesn't qualify. But what I was going to say is, let's take you from number 8 after we go through that to number 12.
okay, sounds good. Perfect.
Because I think, and now let's. I want to ask one other question just so I'm clear. You have not smoked 13 or 14 either, right? You haven't
Correct.
smoked any of the top end. Good.
Yeah, correct.
All right. So before we talk about number 8 that you have in your mouth right now, can we talk about number? Actually, one step before we get into specifics about discussing each one. Everybody should know that my numbering system was not a ranking, was not my, 1 was the best, 2 was close, 3 was right, that kind of thing. What I was specifically trying to avoid was the perception of having some influence on your judgment on the way through. In other words, I didn't want to set up, oh, I think this is number 1. So I
Right.
deliberately actually randomized them in terms of the numbering that I assigned them. And also have to tell you that this is typical, remember, old, slow. Uh, when I was putting these aside, as I accumulated them, I actually had lettered them so that I didn't number them. And then when I batched them to get ready to send to you, I was referencing them by letter without realizing that as I put them into bags, I just numbered them. Right? So I was like, not so
Nice.
smart, right? So anyway, what that means is that when you and I are discussing any number in this sequence, and everybody out there is listening, don't think that number 1 has any more weight than number 5, number 10, or if there was one, a number 15. I wanted you to know I picked 14. Like I said, I kind of think 2 of them are a little bit what I would describe as ringers. I always thought that I would say, aha, they were really for you to smoke. And what we were coming down to was what I hoped I was going to be able to call the Purdy dozen, because it was my fervent hope that the San Francisco 49ers were going to be playing in the NFC title game today. No such luck. So
Yeah.
we don't have a Purdy dozen. We have the Purdy dozen, and unfortunately, Even his counterpart, the Rams, Matthew Stafford, couldn't get it done.
Yeah, that was kind of unfortunate. But, kudos to Sam Darnold for taking all the doubters and
Yeah,
getting to the title game. Man, it's probably the only time I've ever been happy for a Seahawk. A Seahawk who was a former Minnesota Viking too, to boot. Like, I mean, that's
yeah,
that's pretty big
exactly.
for me.
He's double
Shows that I'm
stacked
capable of growth.
against. I do not. I can't root for anybody in a Seahawk uniform ever, anywhere, under any circumstance. If my favorite quarterback of old was somehow resurrected and put in a Seahawk uniform, I'd have to throw rocks at him.
Yeah, I'm not the biggest fan of that franchise either. But
Anyway, but they listen. They got there. They they
yeah,
they uh, they fought their way in. You got to give. You got to give. So unfortunately, instead of having a Sean versus Mike or a Mike versus Sean, depending upon which side of the country you're looking at it from, we now have a Mike versus Mike, and that's no good. And then
that's
and
true.
the idea that both conference games were teams that were coached by Sean and Mike was pretty unusual, and it's just sucks that we didn't come up with a Sean versus Mike Super Bowl. Either way,
And
would have been.
yeah, I've been most common names for sure. Unbelievable,
Mhm.
especially when you think about coaches too.
Yeah.
Um,
So let's go to we can break down uh, uh, a little bit about the things that you have already smoked, but I'd kind of like to begin with what you're enjoying right now. Don't you think it's
so
a good way to launch in?
yeah, let's do that. Let's go ahead and launch tonight's point, which is brought to you by Gran Habano Cigars. From the fertile
There you
lands of
go.
Honduras, George Rico and his family put together the various vintages for you. Yes, you, the cigar smoker. From value-based hits like Corojo Number 5 to the winning 20th anniversary projects like Zulu Zulu. Gran Habano is about cultivating the best and making pinnacle cigars for the market. Culture, tradition, quality, premium handcrafted Habano cigar. Oh, look at that burn. Look at that on that diamond crown.
Yeah, I'm telling
That's
you, man,
gorgeous.
and it's creamy. It's creamy and floral, but it still has this sort of very delicate like sense of the barnyard lurking in the background. So in other words, it has some authority,
Hmm.
it has some backbone without asserting that. Right now what it's giving me is just this super bright, honeyed, heathery, floral. And by the way, I know there's a lot of people who don't like that. When you say stuff like that, they're like, "Oh, fuck that. That's not for me."
Sure.
But I swear to God,
Yeah.
these cigars are. It's just they're so beautiful.
There's it kind of captures of the more nuanced flavors. How you can mention like the hay. There's little variations to it. Honey, you know, the aspect it's on age and that
Hey, I hate to say
there's
this, but you're breaking up on my end. My signal looks fine. Is it me? Because my video is frozen and your audio is breaking up. Hopefully, we'll get back. Right now, I'm out off.
It's gonna be those nights, I guess.
Are we
Or
both back?
yeah, we're back.
I'm so sorry, man. Was that my end or yours?
No, it's my end.
Sorry, dude.
So,
It's
no, it's okay.
your,
It's the internet. Just
yeah.
the internet around here. So, we'll if I go down again, I'll just jump on my hotspot. It'll be fine. So, um, one of those things. Not a big deal.
Okay.
We'll get through it.
All right.
So,
Well, you were telling me
but
because we were talking about the language, around what I was that people have reactions
oh
to
yeah,
descriptions.
the
Yeah.
yeah, the Diamond Crown puts together like it has one of the more nuanced flavor parts of the palate wheel and stuff like that. So just a real a real kinship with just more delicate flavors like the floral, the honey. I get a little herbaceousness and hay, like you were
hmm
talking about, and just light nuttiness to it. Well, just it's just a
But not, a
beautiful.
lot of times when you say hey and things like that, it brings up, sort of the negative, the green ammoniac, the bad qualities. I think of it more as like, like I said, the barnyard light quality. It's like, to me, this cigar is like we dragged it through the greenhouse with hothouse flowers in bloom.
Hey George, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. I
Yeah,
no,
sorry.
that's the first words I've heard. I'm sorry, the audio cut out.
Yeah, it's cool. I switched to my hotspot. We're good. So
Okay,
hopefully we'll be a
cool.
lot better. So
All right.
um
Well, we'll muddle through.
yeah.
Um, I'm I all I we don't have to. I don't want to make it about something that isn't in what you got in front of you. I just wanted to say that I think this is it's just a brilliant cigar, and it. I know this is a silly thing to say in a way, but it doesn't get enough love for what it is.
Yeah, no, I think it's one of those underrated ones for sure. And I've never understood it. I've never understood
Mhm.
it. But yeah, that's awesome. Uh Let me go ahead and just make a quick adjustment here and then we'll talk about number 8.
Yeah.
So yeah, George. So I'm really enjoying this cigar. I think that I think it's got a beautiful flavor to it.
hmm
It's a soft pressed, I would say kind of like a Corona Extra a little
Yep.
bit in size. The ash is really solid. The burn is really good. The draw is a little bit tougher than I normally would prefer.
Really?
Um, yeah, it's a little tight. Um, but that's okay. Uh, I'm still getting a good smoke production out of it.
Has it
But the
affected? Do you think it's affected the taste in any way? I mean, is it heating up so it's blocking elements, or
No, I don't think so. I mean, I've long said that like when cigars are like plugged and like they're just they don't
you
draw.
lose too
Like
much?
yeah, you lose
If
too
you if a
much.
cigar, if the construction is off in one way or the other, it doesn't matter which direction, it is always going to impact negatively the flavor experience, either because of heat, or because of the concentration of oils that are building up as the cigar's not. I mean, there's so many things that can happen as a result of that. But when, to my I don't have a problem with the cigar being like minor type. I love a cigar that essentially is an effortless smoke. But if it takes a half step in the direction, especially if it's one of those cigars that feels like so much authority in your hand, it's like dense. You pick it up and you go, "Whoa, this cigar means business." if it requires a little bit of tug, as long as it doesn't cross over into I'm getting a headache smoking this cigar, in which
Right.
case, you throw it out the window. You can't smoke, can't go forward. And no cigar that is under discussion as one of the great cigars of the year should have that complaint. So you're past the cruising point. You're more towards the middle of the cigar, aren't you?
Yeah. There was one cigar that I smoked, and we'll get into it, that it was just way too, I was just having to fight it too much. And
Yeah, you were actually in hand to hand combat with it.
yeah, I
Uh,
felt
and
like it.
and I will tell you, I just want to say one thing about that from your notes as I remember them. I deliberately didn't. Your notes are on my phone, and I'm not doing that right now. I don't want to. I'll let you think about your comments, but I will say this: the one that you had that problem with, I'm sending you another one because I want you to experience it as I did. The only thing that I will say is because we don't have to do it tonight, keep it until things warm up enough and don't smoke it when it's cold.
Gotcha. 10-4.
Right? I may end up having two or three things that I send you after tonight that are sort of follow-ons.
Yeah, but this cigar's got a nice, like it says, firm in hand. Tell there's a lot of tobaccos in this filler.
Yeah.
Um, it's a softer, like I said, it's a soft press. The construction's
Mm-hmm.
gorgeous otherwise. Razor sharp burn. The ash is,
Yeah.
just solid gray to it. There's a
Mm-hmm.
nearly nice, there's a lot of savoriness to this cigar. Really tasting a lot of, savory flavors. There's a lot of beefiness, a lot of umami
Mm-hmm.
to it. The retrohale has a shorter finish, which I'm not the biggest fan of. I like a little bit of a longer finish. In a perfect world, but the retrohale has this kind of nice baking spice quality to it that kind of really pairs nicely with the way that it's tasting. And it's a really nice cigar um, that I'm enjoying quite a bit. And even though the draw is a little bit more snug than I would prefer, but I don't think, like I said, I don't think it's really affecting the flavor of the cigar. It's one of the
I,
prettier wrappers. It's one of the prettier
I
wrappers.
think it's gorgeous. Out of the whole portfolio that I sent you, like if you lined them up, there's two or three that have these unbelievably like sexy wrappers. They're beautiful, right?
Yeah, and this is one of them. Really, like almost
So
no veins, almost no tooth to it at
yeah.
all. A really nice sheen, like just a clean, beautifully soft
Hmm.
pressed
Hmm.
cigar. It's great.
Hmm.
It's really
So
great.
what I was struck by, and you touched on it, I think in a sort of a I love the retro of that cigar and how it so completely provides me with different notes and different aspects of the experience than the flavor. In other words, when I cut it and did the cold draw, I was like, oh wow, this is I really like what it was telling me. And then as I got through like the first say 10%, I was like, all right, I'm waiting. Let's go beyond. And all of a sudden, it was like with the retro, boom, a whole new palette opened up. So you had the taste, on your palate and the retrohale both doing completely different things. They
Right.
were they were really a study in contrast
Hmm.
without fighting, without being at war. I want to make that part clear.
Yeah, this one's a lot friendlier than the one that we're going to talk about a little bit later for me personally. I but yeah, this is probably one of the more unique flavor cigars that
Yeah.
I've had out of the bunch. Although there were some unusual characteristics of some of these others that we'll get into, like that I got
Yes.
with but just really enjoyed. We've really
Now,
enjoyed this one as was we're kind of
do you want to know
getting
what
into.
it is now?
Yeah, let's go ahead and talk about it.
Right, because I think you'll as we discuss, and then I give you the reveal. I think you'll be like, oh, okay. That is the Arturo Fuente Don Carlos 90th.
Okay.
And remember, that cigar is $13.
Mm-hmm.
And, the Fuentes expressly said, if we catch you upcharging for this cigar, you're going to lose your Fuente privileges.
Nice. Yeah.
So if you think about it, when you start talking about, look, you and I both know that I'm a horrific cigar snob. And if normally you are reviewing like, oh, well, this is the best of the year. Uh, there are going to be cigars in there that we really don't want to talk about the price,
Right.
right? Because it hurts, right? So you don't want to do that. In other words, especially while you're enjoying the cigar, you don't want to say what it costs because you don't want to think about that. But that cigar, to my way of thinking, pound for pound, dude, that's one of the things that I wanted to point out once we were discussing what it actually is. So, and let me just see. I think I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I mean, there's just so much savoriness to this particular cigar. There's just a lot of beef
For
to
those
it.
of you that haven't seen it,
Oh,
there it
it's
is,
curious.
and I mean, this is just the most glorious cigar. That and well, here I'm going to go ahead and do this. I it's not like I'm not going to smoke it, but I'm certainly not going to fire it up tonight because we will. But look, see if you can see the not just the quality of the construction, but the oiliness of that wrapper. This is one of those cigars that, as George Burns used to say, I don't know whether I want to smoke it or sleep with it. It's just magnificent, right? So, and I think it's important. Normally, look, the classic tasting blind is taste, brand identification, who did, all that stuff is not part of the evaluation. But once you understand what it is and how it fits in this, not to point out that that cigar is $13 compared to um, cigars in plenty of year-end lineups that cost 10 times that.
Right, no kidding. Yeah, I mean, this is a fantastic cigar.
I think it's a revelation.
Yeah. I think it's something completely different. There's some characteristics of Fuente that you get in it, like now a little bit, like kind of like reflectively, like okay, as I smoke it, kind of like that kind of herbaceousness that you get from a lot of Fuente, particularly as it ages. When Fuentes
Right.
age,
As
they
it
pick up.
settles into itself, right? As it matures.
Yeah, they get a lot. They get pretty. They pretty get herbally. With the exception of Opus X. Opus X is one of the Fuente products that kind of it does its own magic
Well,
when it
Opus
ages.
Opus does something completely different
Right.
because the components are different. But
Hmm.
still, I just that cigar knocks me out. And remember, this is it's what from shipping into stores. It's maybe 70, 80 days old, right?
Yeah.
In other words, they launched them at the very end of the year.
Yeah. There's not much time on it at all.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I'm liking this beefy quality to it. It's just got
Mm-hmm.
a lot of savoriness, a lot of that, like I said, that umami. A lot of people throw
I like the
mushroom, earthy.
savory, exactly, savory and umami, but without being muscle bound. This is not a cigar that's stomping all over your palate. You could finish that cigar and smack your lips and go, I could light up another one.
Yeah. Like one of the things that drives me crazy is like when a lot of people cook down mushrooms, they like to go
Hmm.
heavy on Worcestershire sauce. And I love Worcestershire sauce as much as the next person. I mean, it's a great fortifying flavor compound when you're like building flavors inside of any kind of dish. But like when people just pour half the bottle of Worcestershire on mushrooms and cook it down from there, it's like you're piling savory on top of savory on top of savory, and it's just like this,
But you're
like
also,
literally umami bomb, like literally.
but you're, but you're eliminating the characteristics of the individual, the shroom that you might have just picked or just bought from a farmer's market or something like that.
Right.
You're sort of dominating without allowing for the subtlety of the, the organic nature of the individual, because Worcester sauce is Worcester sauce and it's going to taste the same as you go forward.
Yeah. Awesome.
Anyway, good.
This is great. This is a great cigar. Nice.
I, I'm
Nice.
glad. I'm very glad.
I don't think I think I probably would have gotten there within like five, maybe six guesses of it,
Well, because there's
but it probably would have
Fuente-esque
been.
characteristics in it, but I don't. I would have been knocked over if you had guessed it out of the box, because I think he deliberately made it to be a standalone product
Yeah,
with
definitely,
these
definitely something
characteristics.
different. Wanted to get your take on this, George, before we move on. So, yeah, without
Mhm.
getting into because I know you have relationships on both sides of it, and I want to get into that. But for someone who's smoked Fuente for so long and
Mhm.
loves that those finite characteristics of it, and again, we're talking about man-made products, but the consistency of products over time is what make some of the legendary cigar makers
Yeah,
legendary.
yeah.
With the unfortunate falling out between Mirafel and Fuente families, what do you think that's going to do to the overall product of it? We know Fuente is going to put something quality in our hands. I'm not even going to entertain anyone that wants to have a discussion uh, on to counter that. We know Fuente is going to put something quality in our hand, but the difference in Cameroon wrapper that we're going to get, because they're going to have to source it from somewhere else, is just wanted to get your thoughts on that.
Well, listen, you know that I love the Fuentes, and I'm you know they're amongst my earliest, deepest and most committed relationships in the business. But and at the same time, Heller Marifel, Jeremiah's grandfather, is one of the people that taught me an extraordinary amount about this business, and it really inspired me in a lot of ways. Back in 1973, the first time I went to a trade show, um, and so I have a soft spot in my heart for the Marifel family too. But what has happened is look, whatever the emotional and the non-practical sides of the business that resulted in the schism between these people who have been together as as trading partners, as friends, as close as you can be without having blood relations. um, the Fuentes core products, many cigars that are in the Fuente portfolio have the visual and flavor that they do because of the Marifel Cameroon that they were provided. Having said that, let me just tell you one thing. I guarantee Carlito Fuente has enough Cameroon tobacco in the warehouses that he could keep making the cigars that we know and love for a decade without missing a beat. But
Gotcha.
also, knowing Carlito, um, I don't think that any of this caught him unawares. It may have hurt him deeply. It may have really disappointed him, but he's never not had his eye on the far horizon. The fact is that the biggest player in the tobacco business um, stepped in to Cameroon and started their own relationships. You can't say growing, because virtually everything that happens in Cameroon is family oriented, but they have amassed a group of farmers and are already exporting tobacco from Cameroon directly to the Fuentes. There's a container that landed earlier this year. It is the size of, look, this is, we're talking about a publicly traded company. Their value is 10x over anybody in the business, and probably uh, I don't know, 100x compared to, or 1,000x, compared to Marifel, which is, a boutique family-run business. There's something completely different going on there.
Right.
So have no fear. What I can promise you is this: if our most sophisticated friends who are analyzing Fuente products, which have had as part of their core makeup Marifel Cameroon tobacco, you won't be able to tell when the change comes unless you decide, oh, it's prettier and it tastes better. There's no way that it's going backwards. There's no way that Carlito is going to use a substandard leaf.
Sure. Yeah.
And
Like I
that's
said,
it's emotionally, it's very tough.
yeah.
It's a terrible position to be in. But so here's the most important thing to understand. It's not going to affect the Fuentes in any negative way. There is no Fuentes cigar that they make now that incorporates Cameroon tobacco that isn't going to continue being this same extraordinary cigar. You could take that to the bank,
Yeah,
and people already have.
I absolutely believe that. If anyone wants to challenge on that, I'll definitely go to the mat for sure. Because I mean, for as long as that great relationship was going on, at the same time, if you know, with great manufacturers and great blenders that have been putting together cigars consistently for, decades,
Yeah,
there's no way that they're going to put an inferior product in front of you, whether the
not a chance.
relationship had continued, or as it were the current status, it's changed.
Yeah.
So, and I have to say, I know that I'm sure that was incredibly hard, on them, obviously, but on George, you're not the only one. I mean, there's a lot of people in this industry that have terrific relationships on both sides of that aisle, and that's
Both
got to be,
sides.
yeah, it's got to be tough just in general on everybody, but especially on those two families for sure. So, but yeah, appreciate you entertaining the question. But let's move on to another cigar. I'm ready to light up because this one's
Yeah.
about done, and I
Well,
thoroughly enjoyed it.
good. So let me ask you a question uh, before you jump to what I was going to suggest, so you can light it up as we're sitting here talking, because I'm going to change something too. Go to 12,
Go to 12.
right? Because that was a cigar that intrigued you right away.
Yes, yes, it was the one that intrigued me from just sight unseen the most. There's an obvious reason why. Go ahead and share this with everyone here.
Yeah,
And now that I'm on
please.
my hotspot, the camera's a lot clearer, so this is good.
Yes, it is.
But
We'll see.
first of all, a Figurado, okay, which
Right.
historically I'm not the biggest fan of, but there is two wrappers on this thing. Especially, it's right on the foot. The foot is different compared to the rest of the cigar,
Mm-hmm.
and it's beautiful. There's a beautiful oiliness to it. The wrapper is a little bit, it's a little rustic. There's a little there's some toothiness to it. It's not as flawless as the Fuente that I just smoked. But
Right.
it's got some gorgeous feel to it. Very kind of velvety to the touch, and um, and this has got some heft to it. So I know that it's filled with a lot of different tobaccos.
Yeah. Yeah. It has in your hand, it has this great feel, doesn't it?
Hmm. And the taste of the wrapper is fantastic. The aroma off the foot has some really nice sweetness to it, like sweetbreads and baking spices to it. Not too much pepper or anything going on with it.
Right.
And but yes, it's a gorgeous looking cigar. So I'm excited about this. I'm gonna take my
Cool.
guillotine cutter, cut a little bit at an angle just to create a little bit more surface area. It's an old trick
Hmm.
my general manager at Michael's Tobacco taught me years ago. And I'm gonna light this up with my none other than my ST DuPont signature lighter, the Biggie, of course, the flat
Hmm.
flame. This is a great cigar, great for toasting, as we've talked about in episodes past. So we're gonna go ahead and
Yeah.
toast that foot, get some aroma going, and see what we got cooking here.
I love the blade flame.
Ooh,
The aroma gets you right away,
ooh,
doesn't it?
yeah. Oh my gosh, that is gorgeous. That is gorgeous. Oh my.
Hmm.
Oh, that's got some like almost kind of some like Sunday roast and gosh, that's like a Sunday roast dinner just coming out at you. There's a lot of beautiful savory flavors
Yeah.
and some sweetness too, like still like very much like the aroma off the drive. Um, oh man.
Yeah, the little cinnamon note
Yeah.
that's in the dry stick comes through after you get past that blast of savoriness.
Oh, that is sensational. Holy cow.
Hmm.
Okay.
Hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly. And I believe that you are going to
Oh.
right. See, it's
Oh shit, George.
just
That is fantastic.
starting, isn't it?
Holy cow.
So this is great, right?
Oh
I
yeah.
mean, this is exactly what you want to have, and so I will reveal one thing about this. This was a late joiner to the group. Remember, I had hip replacement surgery in June, and so then through rehab and everything, I had this like 3.5 month hole in my year in terms of smoking and getting around and everything else. So I had a lot of things lined up. I had some things I was interested in during the time that I wasn't smoking, and then some things that happened at the end. And I got to tell you, I think this cigar comes on. This is a real barn burner.
Yeah. Oh, there's a lot going on. The draw is effortless.
Mm-hmm.
Especially
See, so there you are. There you are. Think about the other figurado, and your experience was kind of the opposite, which I think was just bad luck.
yeah, the other Figurado had a much looser draw to it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, wasn't bad at all. The we'll get to that we'll get to that a little bit. It was kind
Yeah,
of like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde a little bit. Uh,
yeah.
you know,
And your notes reflected that.
yeah. But what I always like to say about Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, you might have two faces, but it still makes one hell of a story.
Right.
Um, but no, this cigar is fantastic so far. Some of the initial flavors that it's got some that sweetness is really balanced out by some beautiful breadiness. There's just a touch of woodiness to it, but there's just this really delectable sweetness, and then there's some spicy components to it as well. Not like overpowering. It's not a pepper bomb or
Right.
anything, but just holy crap, this is singing. This is absolutely
I,
singing.
I'm so glad. I knew I you know there are times when you can look at you're putting together these things and saying, okay, here's a tasting kit, but you just know that there's two or three things in it that are just like they're going to paint that stripe of joy down your palate. You're just going to be
Mm.
so happy when you light them up.
Yeah, the first we'll talk about the first cigar that I decided to light up and why I chose it
Hmm.
and did not disappoint, which was great. And then but this is the one that originally caught my eye out of all of them, but I was like, I'm gonna save it. Um
And I'm glad you did because
yeah.
we got this. We completely your organic reaction to it, and well, actually, I'm not going to say anything because I want you to experience it. I'm not going to. I don't want to plant any expectations or standards.
Yeah, for sure. Man, this is great. So when you were putting together like these limited edition cigars that you were like
Yeah.
noticing over the course of the year and everything,
Hmm. Yeah.
um, I know you were earmarking several probably along the way.
Absolutely.
Were there any like early on that you thought that didn't make this compilation that you thought
Oh
were
yeah.
gonna be like just you thought they were gonna be absolutely stellar and they just didn't quite hit the mark?
Yeah. Actually, I will also tell you that there were two or three that I had in the mix to send you that I dropped out
Mm,
because I went back and revisited. So in other words, I was buying cigars and let's take that even a step back from that. I was trying cigars with an idea towards this portfolio that I was going to build. Um, and if it hit a certain mark, a certain range, I would say, okay, let's put some of these aside. And I literally had a humidor where I was dropping in things that I thought deserved consideration. When it came time, very late fall, in other words, essentially right after Thanksgiving, I started evaluating. Um, and I went back and revisited some things that uh, let's say, I remembered fondly, but that had chinks in their armor. And I resmoked five things specifically that got a lot of attention and that got a lot of ink and that people were oohing and eyeing about. And I was like, no, not for me. And that's
mhm.
okay. I mean, that's because the, it's you have to be honest. This is it's completely and totally personal, and I guarantee, just as every year you have sent me a couple of things which I said, it just doesn't light my fire. I don't.
Yeah,
You're really excited about it, and you enjoy them a lot, and I'm like, okay, it's a cigar. It's good. It performs. It does all, but it's not me. I knew that as I put these together, that it was just so unlikely that there wouldn't be one or two that wouldn't trip your trigger.
right.
And that's, the beauty of where we are today. But what I hope is that as we do this, because I'm already thinking about next year, I actually have. So we'll take one step back. I'm not going to tell you what they are, but there were two cigars released this year which I could not include in this for two reasons. One, they came out so well. One of them came out earlier, but I couldn't get enough to test. I couldn't get enough to smoke and to save and then to be able to send you, right? Because in other words, when I buy them, I have to have one that I'm going to smoke when I'm putting together the final mix, besides what you're going to get.
Right.
And if it fails that, outside. But there are two cigars from either end of the year in terms of release, and I am probably going to include them in the 2027 version of this. Using your okay, they might have been announced at X, but they were dropped at Y, and it was too late to make it into this kit,
Right.
right? In other words, the window is slightly elastic in that it's not super judgmental. And there is another cigar um, from a great friend, a cigar that I absolutely love, but that wasn't new this year. But it was one of the cigars I smoked that absolutely knocked me out, bowled me over. We can talk about that later.
Yeah, I think what's is interesting because as I'm putting together my top 10, I think about your potential reaction to them, but
Mm-hmm.
they are your it's really important to note that, as we've done this for several years, as you noted earlier, I don't ever, obviously put cigars into my list thinking, oh, you'll really like this or you'll really hit. There are cigars that I've put it like that have made my top 10. I'm like, oh, George isn't gonna like this.
Right. Exactly.
Just because what I know about your palate, and there's some that
Right.
have caught me off guard, like that you were just really blown away by. I was really pleased. I was really pleased about this year. The number seven cigar, the Rorschach Sumatra, from Black Label Trading Company, that I
I,
was like,
I,
I didn't think you were gonna like. I was like,
dude, and I was, remember, I was like,
yeah, you
whoa.
were smitten with it. It was great.
I loved that cigar. I loved it so much that I was like, I gotta, hunt this down now. So, listen, that's the beauty of it. The great thing is that, it isn't just throwing darts. We understand each other's a lot of the outlines of our flavor preferences, but at the same time, it's impossible to know. In other words, my palate is going to react different than yours. For what? Let's talk about two things that have um, relevance in this. Number one is I've only smoked 80 gazillion cigars, right?
Yeah.
In other words, I'm not finished. I haven't smoked every cigar in the world and everything, but I have this uh, wide ranging experience. And I have more than one kind of flavor that absolutely makes my palate, stand up and clap. In other words, there are cigars of wildly different personalities that I embrace and go, well, this is sensational. On the other hand, I would say there's a fairly distinct category of cigars that I like. I fold my arms. I'm unimpressed, and I don't care about, even though plenty of people rave. Right, and we could probably do a whole nother episode. Maybe we should think about doing a mid-year episode of cigars that disappoint us and why, even though they're like, ooh, everybody loves them.
Ooh, I
Right. In
like
other
that.
words, enjoy
Yeah.
high reputation cigars that are on everybody's like, you got to buy this, and merchants are always putting them forward, and yet we light them up and go, what's the big deal? What's going on? What am I missing? And that's what I ask a lot of times. I say,
Mhm.
tell me where's the hole in my judgment, right? And I like that. I like being able to do that with people, because there's some
Yeah.
guys that go, oh my god, this is a great cigar, and I'm like, dude, you're fucked up. But the other thing is, you and I are smoking in different environments. Like
Right.
typically tonight, we're very similar because we're both inside our igloos. But most of the time, you're smoking in a different ambiance than I am.
Absolutely. Yeah, for sure. So to that point, I mean, a little bit of a spoiler, but it's from last year, but I like this idea of doing something a little more mid-year with
Yeah.
it. But one of the cigars that just did not hit my palate at all, and uh, apparently I just missed the boat because it was the number one cigar on the consensus this year for Hatfield, which was the My Father Blue, their Honduran premier, to the world. And
The new, yeah, the
yeah,
first the first release from the Honduras factory.
yeah, and everyone was just wild about it, apparently. I just missed, and I again, it just missed my palate. It was just one of those
Well,
straight. It
let
was
me
like,
ask you a question. Let me ask one question before you say anything else, because I don't know whether how big of a chance did you give it? In other words, did you just get one because everybody was like, you got to smoke the My Father Blue, the new Honduras cigar, because it hit the market like a bomb,
mhm,
and I mean that in a good way, like it was
yeah.
explosively popular. You tried one and go, I don't get it, and that was it, or did you have you tried to revisit it?
No, I've definitely revisited. I've smoked. I haven't smoked a lot of them. I've smoked five. I've smoked five.
Different
Um,
sizes?
different sizes.
Good.
The latest one I smoked was from my original purchase. So I purchased two
Mhm.
cigars initially. Smoked one. Uh, wasn't wasn't really taken back by it, and then I saved pushed put back the other one, and then I just smoked it. So it's got about, what is that, about 8 months, 9 months of
Mhm.
age on it.
Yeah, from the
And it
original release.
Yeah, and what I will say is it was pretty consistent. Age didn't really do too much to it. So it's pretty consistent, which is that's really that's fun. You like to see cigars change. That's why I enjoy experimenting with age. Is like you like kind of seeing the change over time. But consistency is also really something to one note and two be pretty impressed by. With a cigar that if a cigar can kind of maintain its characteristics, because I find that like as little as 90 days on a lot of cigars can make an impact. Particularly like with broadleaf cigars, you see a lot of change pretty
I
quickly.
think it happens. I think it happens a lot with Sumatra wrapped cigars too. There's a flavor
Yeah,
that they have when they're young, and there's a completely different flavor that they have when they're well rested and matured in the right humidor. But let's be clear about one thing. When you say consistency in a cigar, there's a bunch of categories that might have something to do. So number one, there's consistency in the way that it smokes as you're actually burning a cigar, right? In other words, its behavior. Then there's consistency from box to box to box. And then there's consistency in what the overall personality, what the flavor of the cigar is, and what it's supposed to do. So I think essentially both the titans of the present day industry have achieved that, but maybe in different ways. So, in other words, padrones always have the same personality.
right.
You don't pick up a padrone going, I wonder what I'm going to get this time. Instead, it is the single most reliable. In walking in a humidor, especially a strange, a curated humidor that maybe, but one that you're not familiar with, or the owners, the philosophy, anything else. You go in there, there's a padrone in there. You pick up a 1964, you know exactly what's going to happen. And the Fuentes have done the same thing, but they have a little bit more diversity in their, let's say, house style, right?
Right.
But here's the thing: consistency. You can consistently blend so that you're delivering the same flavor, but there are cigars that are made to be rested. Like, buy them, put them down in the humidor, and wait for their personality to reveal itself. Like, if you light them up when they're brand new, you buy a box and you open it up and you smoke one, you go, I don't know if I like this or not, or whatever. You might be confused by it, you might even be disappointed, but you know the maker and the story and everything else,
Hmm.
and you go, okay, I'm willing to wait. And then it comes on, and sometimes it is only 3 or 4 months. A lot of times, I think it takes somewhere between 6 to 9 months for it to, like, okay, I've rested and now this is what I am. But to some degree, that depends on when you buy it. So, in other words, I think cigars that come out in winter and early spring need longer to open up, to rest and open up and transform. Whereas cigars that are, launched in summer and early fall can be ready to smoke by Christmas.
Yeah, I think the biggest hold on. My oof, that was
Did you just
unfortunate.
drop your cigar?
I did, but it landed on my foot, so that was good. Um, one of the biggest I'm going to say guilty like it's a bad thing. One of the most guilty parties when it comes to that, and we've talked about this, and I've commented, I've even told him to his face about it too, is is Pete Johnson. Like I've been burned so many times smoking his stuff off the truck just because you're so damn excited about it, and it's just
Excited about
like,
it.
and it's
Not
just
there.
yeah. But you
Not ready.
you let that thing act, you let those cigars acclimate for any time at all, and they just come together really nicely.
And
There's
exactly.
There's few exceptions. There's few exceptions to it within his portfolio. One was my number one cigar of the year from last year. The Verco Blue um,
Verku.
is a fantastic cigar. I don't know about fresh off the truck, but I mean, you get that out of humidor and you're ready to go.
Well, you didn't
And
smoke it fresh off the truck, did you?
no,
When
I
you
didn't.
first got it?
Not
Yeah.
that one, no, because like I said, I've learned my lesson enough times. But I can grab that thing. I can grab that cigar out of the humidor and it doesn't need any time to like acclimate or anything like that. I can
Yeah.
smoke it. It's good.
Yes.
The Michael was probably the only monster that I've ever smoked quickly that was just
That you thought
go.
was like fantastic.
Yeah, it was right,
Well, for a lot of
fantastic,
people,
ready
the
to go.
cigar that did that was the face.
Oh, I love the face. I love it. That's like we talked about that last time. I think that it's one of the, it's probably, it's my second favorite blend. I like the Jason. The Voorhees is probably in all sizes has always been my favorite from the original release into the other iterations. I'm really excited about when the Redux comes, because I thought that blend was
See,
fantastic.
I swear to God, I don't know why. I think this is generational. Mine, Frank, Drac, Mummy,
In that order,
right?
nice. Yeah.
And I think part of it is obviously my emotional attachment to having them first, you know, when they came out, the original release, and being so emotionally invested in them. But I still, I think, and that's not to say that there aren't other blends in the line that I thought were great. But if you ask me, like if you, and by the way, most of the time, whether it's a Skinny Monster or the cigars that were in the Monster Smash or the Monster it to me the ones that I'll almost always gravitate to when I'm doing that when I'm judging a new format or a new release, which is a version of them.
Mhm.
Frank, Drac, Mummy.
Yeah, I go Voorhees, the face, and then the Frank. Now I never had the original. Never had the original. The only I've had the Redux is the closest thing I've had to the original, obviously.
Did you
And
like the
then
Boris Karloff this
I
year?
I did. I did. I enjoyed that as well. And the I mean the only one of the entire Monster series that I have not liked in any size format, including its originally release, it just completely missed for me was the Hyde. I just couldn't I just
Mm-hmm. Too
couldn't
rough.
find it.
Too rough.
Too
It didn't work for you.
too rough. I let some age. I tried some over like I even had one that was like 18 months old and it was just like
Uh-huh.
it's still missed for me. And I was like, I mean, something's got to be at the bottom, as we always say.
Mm-hmm.
You
Mm-hmm.
can't bat a
Mm-hmm.
thousand and out of every portfolio and every line and there's always something that's got to be at the bottom for it. I mean, it's not a dog rocket. It's not like
No,
unsmokable to me or anything like that. It just wasn't my
it
ticket to ride.
just didn't. Exactly. Beautiful.
Uh, but this cigar is absolutely sensational. So I've gone past that wrapper break. I'm into the
Yeah.
second wrapper now. There was this really beautiful transition. The creaminess is still there from that what I would suspect is probably Ecuadorian shade. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and still some delightful creaminess. There's kind of I love, and this is a polarizing take, George.
There's a
There's one
minty.
I like some herbaceousness, but I really like there's a mineral quality to some cigars
Oh,
that have like
good.
some minerality that I
Yeah.
just think are great. And this through that transition has this, and I'm sold on it. But there's like I said, the creaminess has stayed. There's these baking spices are still singing. There's not too much overpowering spice to it. It's just there for balance. It's kind of keeping everything contained and checked in a really nice way. Uh,
Yeah, I
it's
think it's
just
a tease. The amount of spice that's there. What I like is that it comes and goes. It's not ever present. Like I don't get that. And talk to me about the retro for this, because by the way, you just went through the transition. I think the retro from the second half is wildly different. Sorry,
it, it
I'm not trying to shade your thinking.
no, it definitely is. It's when I was kind of retroing the first a couple inches there of that original wrapper, it was shorter, which again, as I've said
Yeah,
before, I'm not a fan of. Now it's
less present to finish.
Yeah, the finish is so long right now.
Hmm.
I mean, it's still. I just retroed that last puff, and it is still lingering, and it's
Yeah.
fantastic. Holy
Yep.
cap! Holy crap!
Hmm.
This is good.
It's
I'm really
ridiculous.
enjoying this. Really enjoying this cigar. This is sensational. Holy goodness! This is one for the books, man. This is fantastic. This might be my second, either my favorite or my second favorite of the group for sure.
I'm going to be very interested if if there's another cigar that can bump it off of this. Um, I'm just very, very pleased that you're experiencing all the things that I hoped you would. Um, by the way, right now, because my I think the coal just did a number on the wrapper on my Diamond Crown. I'm in this Mildias. My God, this cigar is phenomenal. I think Mildias is one of the greatest things John has done, and I think Huber's made some phenomenal cigars. But I swear to God, I love these.
Yeah, you've been a fan of that cigar blend from the day one, man. I think that you've been a huge proponent for a long time of it.
Yeah.
It was a cigar for me that I had to truly get and appreciate. So it was a more time tested um investment for me. I
Hmm.
I enjoyed it.
It took you
It was
longer to warm up to it.
Yeah, I enjoyed it, and I was like, but it was kind of like, but it's got such a unique profile that it's kind of
Hmm.
one of those things where you're with really unique profiles that kind of come across your palate and that you don't smoke typically or don't really have had anything like it, for example, where you can't really
Hmm.
draw on your like experience.
Yeah.
Um,
It's not
it
related
goes,
to anything else.
yeah, it goes two ways. It's either, well, it goes three ways technically. One, you
Yeah.
just never get it, which wasn't
Right.
the case for me. Two, it takes a while to get it, and then you're like, okay,
Hmm.
I'm with it now.
Now I
Uh,
understand.
yeah. So for me, that kind of falls into the classification of like Undercrown, the original Undercrown. I was like that with that one, and that one took a long time for me to get. And then there's ones that were just like they're so damn unique, and you're just like, oh damn, yes, absolutely, and you just get it right off the bat. And the latter two, obviously, experiences are fantastic when you're talking about really unique profiles, just because you're like you kind of appreciate the journey if it takes you a bit, and even if you don't, even if it just hits you in a wow kind of capacity in your first impression, it's like okay, this is something very special, and that
But is it now? This is a could be personal. If I discover a cigar that has this, unique flavor profile that has something that's completely outside the realm, not only of what else you can buy, sitting on the humidor, but flavors that you know and that you understand, let's say, and this taste bushwhacks you in a cigar. If it doesn't come back, if you can't get that experience again through successive iterations through time, I hold that against the cigar in a big way. In other
yeah.
words, you can be great on release and it's absolutely extraordinary and you fall in love with it and everything is spectacular, but everything that happens after that is just a half step or a full step down.
Hmm.
Dude, it's like, okay, you're crossed off my list. I'm not inviting you to the party anymore.
Yeah, I
I'm
think
harsh like that.
yeah, one of my favorite cigar smoking experiences that I've ever had, but you can't keep them around. Like so, when you find them, you gotta smoke it and enjoy it because you can't get greedy and store them because I did that
Right.
the with the Drew Estates UF13.
Yeah.
I freaking love. Yeah, if you find it on the shelf, you gotta, and it's like a relatively new box. Like pop the lid on that, grab one,
You
smoke
got to
it.
buy it.
It's terrific. Um, you let that sit for. any more than 90 days, and it's just a completely different cigar.
Goes
Not
away.
and not in the
It goes
best
away.
way. Yeah, it's unfortunate.
Except that, so this is the weird part, and I guess it's good. But I'm sure that there are people out there who are like, "Are you crazy? I can't smoke them out of the box. I have to rest them. I keep them for 6 months or whatever, before they light them up, because that's the personality that they want, as opposed to the way it is when you
Right.
crack it." But for me, you crack that box and smell it, and you get that, business end of the barnyard thing right there. You just got to pick it up and cut it right there.
Yeah, for sure. God,
Cool.
I'm loving this cigar, George. This is fantastic. Holy cow.
Yeah, it's thrilling because I believe when I tell you what it is, you'll be like, "Oh, I never saw that coming."
Yeah, I've got a couple of guesses, I think,
Well, you can
but
make them because it's not. It again. Listen. I do this over and over and over again when we're talking about blind tasting and trying to evaluate a cigar to get at what you think its great principles are. It's not a guessing game. It's not a contest. You're not supposed to. It's like blind tasting a cigar is not supposed to be so you can figure out who made it and where. It's about whether or not you like it and why. What
Mhm.
are the things that happened in that cigar that made you go, "Oh my God, what is this? I got to know because I got to buy more."
Yeah, for sure.
But go
Um,
ahead. What do you think it is?
well, like my first kind of guess was, just because it reminded me a lot of the the Salomon series that Leto did, where
Uh-huh.
he played around with a lot of different wrappers and had that unique kind of
Yeah.
figurado shape and everything. I don't think it's big enough, but I haven't seen those I haven't seen those in a good minute. And I don't think it was crazy enough because he did some really cool stuff with the wrappers on those. So I don't think
Yeah.
that was that. But the size kind of reminded me regional of the Salomon that that the Newmans did with the Angel Cuesta. And
On El
so
Cuesta, which is
yeah.
that's an interesting guess. And well, anyway, we'll get to that. But no, if you look at it, there's a difference in the construction in the body. And by the way, those cigars, I think the Angel Cuesta cigars are still presenting themselves. What that brand is and what they're doing is still unfolding. But boy, do I love the whole idea.
Yeah, for sure. Awesome. Why don't we take a
So
break?
so where are you? Let me see. Hold up.
I'm about the halfway
You're
point.
yeah. So you still have more to get out of that cigar.
Yeah, for
I
sure.
wouldn't.
So
You don't need to give up on it, so we don't have to talk about it. If you got to, let's pay some bills.
yeah,
Tell a story, and
let's take a break and do one of our fun segments here. This is our
mhm.
presidential trivia segment brought to you by United Cigars. Um, Ready to live the United lifestyle? Launch your palate voyage with United Cigars. You can celebrate over 250 years of excellence with the Red Anchor or experience elegance with La Giana Havana. Rekindle the spirit of 1776 and light up the skies with the firecracker. Then celebrate honor, pride, and accomplishment with the Gold Star. Jet set the globe and capture luxury with Atabey, Byron, Alfonso, Bandolero, now the Nelson line from Selected Tobacco. Don't just smoke, smoke United. United Cigars since 1901. United we smoke. Um,
And
so
thank you for United for sponsoring me as a guest.
yes, absolutely. So, uh, wanted to we kind of got off on a tangent last time, George, about this new kind of this new movie that was on Netflix, about James Garfield, Death by Lightning,
Yeah,
and
exactly.
I really kind of like I said before, we hadn't really explored him too often on this particular segment, so I wanted to do another throwback to good old James Garfield. 6 months in office. We never got to see what kind of a president he was going to be, and just a really unique character in terms of the executive that we hadn't really seen up to that point. He was probably had one of the more unusual backgrounds, and also just a lot of cool trivia for a guy that we barely got to know as a country. Um, and so I had some questions around this. So um, So here is the first question. It is a true or false. It
Uh-oh.
so James Garfield was left-handed. That's a fact. Okay. James Garfield was left-handed. And as we know, there's not many lefties in this world. But the question is, there's been several left. There's been 8 left-handed presidents. My question to you is was James Garfield the first left-handed president? True or false?
False.
It's actually true. He was the first
Really?
left-handed president.
No.
Yeah.
Hmm. I'm trying to think. Well, but great.
Yeah.
That's as a lefty, I'm all for it. But oh well, that's my so okay.
Yeah. So
Moving on.
James, here's the list. James Garfield, Herbert Hoover,
Hoover, yeah.
Harry Truman.
Hmm.
Then we went on a run in the late 1900s rather. Gerald Ford,
Yeah.
Ronald Reagan, George Herbert Walker, Bill Clinton, and Barack Obama was the last left.
Yeah, and 41 was famously sort of ambidextrous.
Yes.
He was, defined as a lefty, but he was ambidextrous because of his, the pilot and all this. He was that was an interesting time. And of course, Reagan started his career out as a political lefty and then veered the other way.
Yeah, sure. So here's the next question about James Garfield. Which of these is not true about President James Garfield? Here we go. Not true. Which one is not true? He could write in Latin and Greek at the same time. B, the last president to be born in a log cabin. C, as a general during the Civil War, he served at the Battle of Shiloh. D, served 17 years between the House and the Senate. Or E, was a lay minister in the Disciples of Christ Church and the only member of the clergy to serve as president. Which one is not true?
Well, it's not the only member of the clergy, unless you're speaking that specific religious sect. Uh, you know what I think it is, actually? I think it's that he didn't serve 17 years in the House.
He served 17 years in the House, but he did not serve in the Senate.
Right.
So fun fact, he was actually elected senator to Ohio, but he never took his seat
Never
because he was elected president of the United
president.
States.
Exactly.
Yeah, so he was
That's my
actually
so that's what I'm saying.
he was
Good.
elected senator and then also elected president, and then obviously took
He was drafted into that campaign. Talk about the
yeah,
most unorthodox path to the White House in the history of our nation.
yeah. He's it's credited. It's obviously dramatized in the
Absolutely.
the the movie, the Death by Lightning, the very powerful speech that he gave at the Republican National Convention. But there is some truth to that he made such an impression at that national convention that he was obviously, like you said, drafted into the race itself. If you fast forward, over 100 years, very much like Barack Obama's speech during the Democratic National Convention, that kind of put him in the national spotlight and kind of earmarked him for what would be a successful presidential run in 2008. So it's interesting how one kind of moment, even in modern politics, can kind of make or break, a politician. So
The
it's
difference
interesting.
being in modern politics, when you have mass media to transmit you visually, orally, your physical presence to and everything to everybody all at once, it makes a huge difference. Whereas in Garfield's case, it was about how much he impressed the people in the room. So they went out and said, "Oh my God, this is the guy."
Yeah.
In other
Hmm.
words, it was secondhand the reaction, because there actually weren't that many people the first time around.
Yeah, it was interesting what was going on at that particular national convention was that there was actually a huge push, and kind of going into that convention, the front runner was former President Ulysses S. Grant to come back
Yeah,
and be
and
president.
Grant thought it was in the bag.
Yeah, it did, um, really fantastic documentary. You really need to see it. But one of the things we kind of skipped over here, you mentioned Herschel Walker Bush as being ambidextrous. Garfield was as well. So the trivia question about him being the first left-handed president, he could actually write with both hands,
Both hands,
and
exactly.
he
And he
he
could write. He could
he
write in Greek and Latin.
Greek and Latin at the same time, one with his right and one with his left. That's unbelievable.
Yeah.
That's insane.
I
Look
can
at the,
smoke with both hands. I
yeah,
can smoke with
that's
both hands, and I can smoke Greek and Latin cigars.
it's funny. I'm right-handed. There are some weird things that I do left-handed. I typically smoke with my left hand. Like I carry my cigar in my left hand a lot.
Mhm.
Um, uh, and particularly in colder months, as I've got my right hand in my pocket right now. I don't know why that is. It's just kind of something I've noticed about myself over time. But I usually hold my cigar with my left hand quite a bit. Um,
But I think we're genetically programmed to protect our dominant hand.
oh
That's why you're smoking with your left hand, because your right hand is staying warm.
yeah, there you go. That's a unique observation for sure. Here's a fun question that's just for fun and I thought it would be cool to entertain. I've been asked this a number of times over the years, but I don't think I've ever asked you, George. Which president would you most want to smoke with, and what cigar do you think would you bring him?
Well, boy, that's a to me, uh, the obvious. Yeah, I'm sure most people would say Abe Lincoln, because of the pivotal role. But actually, the guy that I would probably most have wanted to sit down and smoke with, and I would have brought him something that had a Connecticut wrapper, would be Franklin Delano Roosevelt.
Oh, nice.
Titanic, um, a great mind, incredible speaker, another guy that understood how to build a cabinet that broke down opposition instead of built up walls. Um, a guy that could go one on one with people who were diametrically opposed to him politically and find a thread to come to some kind of at least understanding, if not necessarily a compromise legislatively. Just an unbelievable figure in modern politics. And this country would not be what it is today if it
Hmm.
wasn't for FDR. Um, and the way that FDR allowed Truman to become the president that he did
Yeah,
is
absolutely.
another part of his legacy. So I would say that would be for purposes. Look, the first thing that when you asked me that question, the first person that I thought of was Jefferson.
Yeah.
Because one of the great minds that was ever in the White House.
Yeah, and
Uh,
you both are writers too. Like that's the thing too.
I,
You
I,
guys could talk about
to
that.
me, but I would, to me, I would benefit more from the time with FDR and understanding and how much he did to shape where we are right now.
Yeah, there's so many answers to this question. Lincoln's always my
Of
go-to
course,
just because he's my favorite president and always will be. Um,
he's it's not fair to say that he's everybody's favorite president, but anybody who has a an understanding of the extraordinary journey of our nation and who managed to hold it together at the moment when it just could have blown up and ended,
yeah.
and led to disaster. And I'm sure you've read Team of Rivals,
I love that book. Yeah.
Doris Kearns Goodwin.
Yes.
I mean, what's great for us, what's really, really lucky is that there are so many sources of material and there's a volume not only of correspondence but of opinion and everything else, so we know much more about Lincoln firsthand, in other words from observers, than almost any other president,
Right. Well, I mean, yeah,
at least any president before him.
yes, and like the you have to understand the cabinet that he formed was designed specifically to, you know, to challenge
Save
him
our
in a
union.
lot of ways.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah, but it was built so that he didn't have yes men.
Exactly.
So what
And
came out of that cabinet was good for the whole country, not for an elite group of people.
well, when you think about it, there's two that really stick out. There's a lot in the you could go
And,
cabinet position by cabinet position, but the two that really always stick out to mind to me are one, William Seward, his Secretary of State, which was his greatest rival within the party. Everyone loves to talk about Douglas, right? But his greatest rival probably within his party at the time was Seward,
and
and
for the balance
he
of his political career, Seward
yeah,
was somebody he had to deal with.
and they became best friends.
Real friends.
I mean,
Exactly.
Seward adored Lincoln, and here's the opposite. A lot of people don't realize is Edward Stanton, the Secretary of War that he had, um, was a Democrat,
Mhm.
was a lifelong Democrat, and
Mhm.
you can actually even and but develop this even though he had this kind of natural animosity towards Lincoln, disagreed
Yeah.
with him on a lot of things, and but he developed this unwavering affection for Lincoln that for was the you could argue, fortunately, he was the right person in history to be there at the end, but at the same time, if you look at it through a kind of a different lens too, he was also the anti-Lincoln in the wake of his assassination. There was no one more no more fervent of a person who wanted to see justice done for
Yeah.
the greatest injustice that this country had seen until that point. Um, there was no grace, no quarter given to anyone associated with the assassination, including you look no further than the trial of Mary Surratt.
Mhm.
I mean, Stanton wanted vengeance, not
Yeah.
one could argue not justice, and for a country that was in mourning, and in the wake of
Traumatized. Traumatized.
in the wake of the trauma of the Civil War, and then the impact of the assassination of Lincoln, he really was the right person in history to be there at that moment. Now, we could have scholarly debate and discussion about whether or not, um, the way that he took justice into his own hands and things like that. We can have those colorful debates, 150 years later with
Those
some
are those are
academic differences, but
those are revisionist history. They're looking at it through a modern lens as opposed to
yeah,
the circumstances of the day.
right, exactly. And in a lot of ways, he was exactly the type of leader that the country needed at the moment. But yeah, again, a you know a person who, God, was so different than Lincoln, and
Mhm.
opposed him in so many different aspects.
And
Took
yet, and
developed an
yet the
affection for
bond
him.
they
Yeah,
had.
yeah,
Yeah,
it was incredible,
exactly.
incredible. So,
I
um,
love it.
yeah, a lot of presidents I'd sit down and smoke a cigar with: James Madison, Teddy Roosevelt,
Of
FDR.
course.
Um, I think even more in modern day, I think he's one of the more interesting interviews, and I love was Barack Obama. I loved David Letterman's
Sit down with him.
sit down with him on
My
his
next
Netflix special.
guest.
Yeah, God,
Yeah,
that was
my
good.
next guest.
You know, um, and I always say, I take politics out of it all the time, and I think that, you know, from where I sit, I think that that's where I've really become such you know, a scholar of the executive in this country is because I can look at presidents and from a through a historical lens and really appreciate, where I might differ in opinion, where I might differ in perspective, what, I view even as right and wrong, and truly appreciate what this this very small fraternity of men in America's history that kind of have shaped our country. And this is why I love this segment. I love talking about it. So,
But the
but
great ones always managed to at the most pivotal moment in our country, whether it was a financial crisis, a spiritual crisis like the Civil War was, or a global conflict, they always managed to find a way to bridge the chasm. They were not single party guys.
yeah, it's it's truly one of the more fascinating studies that I've done in my entire life of just being able to explore politics the way that I have. I
And it's
love.
rewarding.
Yeah, it
It's
is.
rewarding to analyze that. Unfortunately, we live in a tremendously anti-intellectual moment in history, so nobody wants to talk about the past and what happened and how.
Hmm.
We have a populace that's vehemently opposed to that. So hopefully that moment will pass.
Yeah, no one wants to talk about the past. No one wants to talk about the present, or at least not,
Nope.
and not through partisan lenses, at least. So,
Nope.
but
Exactly.
one day, I believe we'll get back to that. So
Yeah.
that was our presidential trivia segment. Don't you smoke? Smoke United, United Cigars since 1901. United we smoke. All right, George. Well, let's do a reveal on this number 12 cigar that has just absolutely been gorgeous and beautiful to smoke. I'm past the second third now into the final third of this cigar, and it's just a beautiful,
Yeah.
beautiful
And you're
experience.
still loving it, right?
Oh yeah,
It's
it's
still giving
fantastic.
you it's still giving you rich, complex flavors. It's an HVC La Rosa 520.
Nice. The
Yeah.
the 10th anniversary, or
No,
is it just
they called it La Rosa 520. It's not. There is a 10th anniversary, but that's not it.
okay? This is beautiful. I love Rainier stuff. Rainier makes incredible cigars, and
I just think that cigar is so cool. And when I smoked it, I was like, oh, I have to get more of these. Right? I mean, just it doesn't matter. It was wonderful.
yeah, it's beautiful. Really, really enjoyed this. Rainier makes some incredible cigars over the years. He's made several cigars in my top 10 over the years, that
And
I've
they're always
really enjoyed.
sneaky. They're always sneaky because
Yeah.
they're not on everybody's list.
Yeah. He's one of those boutique cigar makers that just kind of, he's kind of trudging along in his
He's
own lane.
along underneath what we think of as the top crust or the superstars,
Hmm.
but the guy delivers beautiful blends.
Yeah. And I think what the biggest nod that you have to give to him is the fact that he started his own factory, which, as history would suggest, is typically a rocky road,
Yeah.
um, and not necessarily a popular one, and not necessarily an easy
Mhm.
one. But right off the get, out of his own factory, he was just just throwing out some bangers, just
Yeah.
insane, just insane. But yeah,
We're
this
all
is
lucky.
a fantastic cigar,
All right.
fantastic. It's great.
Let's go backwards for a minute and talk about some of your notes for the other cigars.
Yeah.
Since you just smoked that Figurado,
Hmm.
Let's talk about the earlier cigar that disappointed you. That was a Figurado that you had to fight with.
Yeah, yeah, I wouldn't say the
Disappoint may be a strong word.
yeah, I would say disappointment would be a little bit of a strong word. It still scored really well. So that was number four. Um,
Yeah.
so it was a soft press Figurado. Um, the unfortunate thing, and this just happens from time to time, especially probably, when we're transporting and shipping cigars across the country to each other.
Yes.
There was a crack in the wrapper about 2.5 inches above the shoulder, so it wasn't something that you could smoke off pretty quickly, unfortunately. I was
Right. It was
really
going to
hope,
be with you as you went through the cigar.
yeah, I was really hopeful that it didn't really wreck the draw. And there were veins pronounced quite a bit throughout the wrapper, a bit of sheen, and even despite its toothiness and kind of its rustic nature, the dry draw was really open, and that was pretty consistent with the cigar throughout. Had really nice nutty and woody notes on the dry draw. After the first light, man, that flavor just hits you though. The finish was long from the get, really full flavored, beautiful nuttiness. I got cashews, dried fruit, a touch of milkweed, meatiness and pepper. The retrohale really balanced out everything with a sweet smoke that was kind of peppered with spices to it. Um, really complex.
Yeah.
Um, so this was the Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde cigar because so you're thinking, oh, bet this was a sensational cigar, and it was. But despite that, the delightful complexity of the flavor profile, the construction was quite the opposite. The draw was really wide open, like reminiscent. So think of like your classic 1000 series Padron open,
Yeah.
like a
Just
lot
wide
of
open.
smoke. Yeah, a lot of smoke, very loose draw. And there was a hot spot 1 inch in that kind of formed.
Hmm. Hmm.
Um, but holy hell, man, I gotta say, that it actually corrected itself. I didn't touch it up. I let it go. I just wanted to see what happened, and it corrected itself. So you gotta give it some points back for that. So it
It
didn't
rebounded.
kill. Yeah,
In
it
your
didn't kill
words,
the
it
score.
rebounded.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
the draw stayed wide open. There was the flavor was really out there. It was in your face. Nice coffee and licorice notes came through, balanced with some really nice salted caramel and cashews and homemade
Yeah,
sweetbreads.
see, think about all the flavor notes that you're describing there.
Yeah,
So it delivered it. So many things that were coming on, but the physical performance of the cigar was preventing you from really reveling in how great it was.
yeah,
It was a flawed product, and that got in the way, even though it recovered from some of the problems. But when you have a crack in the wrapper that's that high up, you're never going to get fully past the issues of the way it burns and draws.
yeah, absolutely. But
Do you know what it was? Do you have a guess?
I really couldn't put my finger on it to be honest. But I was really, really enjoyed it.
Disappointed by having to fight it.
Yeah, and there was another cigar that I feel like I fought more a little bit.
Well, we'll get
Um,
to that. We'll get to that. Stay on this cigar.
I would say that this was the one. This was one of the cigars that I really was disappointed to ultimately put down, though. Like I smoked a lot of it. I had to dock it for the construction a little bit. It was kind of it popped out
Sure.
in 89. I would definitely
Uh-huh.
revisit it. If nothing else, just to find out if my construction things were a little bit more, my construction issues were a little bit more one-off. But it sounds like they were because I think you wouldn't have given me something that was,
I would not have given it to you if that was it.
yeah,
So you ready for it? You ready
yeah,
to see what it is?
yes.
Can you see?
Yeah. Oh, nice. The Evian 13
It's the
Corojo. Nice.
Corojo. Yes.
Yeah.
Dude, I'm telling you, man, I love these cigars. And when I was reading your notes, I was absolutely shocked that it was a construction issue. And I thought, oh my God, is it my bad? Is it how I packed them and sent them to you? Because and every one of these has smoked like a dream. I love this cigar. And I mean, I really passionately love this cigar. So much so that I was actually thinking about smoking it tonight, but I didn't want to be in a position where I'm like, oh, here I am, but you're looking at it going, wait a minute, I recognize that cigar.
Yeah, it was
I
great.
am.
I've had it before, and it definitely click. It's definitely click. It clicks now
Yeah,
with all that, and
exactly.
yeah. So the openness definitely kind of now it kind of it's definitely clicking because I remember that
Hmm.
because like one of the things about a lot of Tatsuwahi products is they don't that was really unique. They don't really have that kind of open draw quite a bit. A lot of
Mm-mm.
Tatsuwahi products are very on the more stiffer side when it
You're
comes to
you're
draw.
you're working to get it. The cigar, it can work with you. It'll deliver you the amount of smoke that you want based on how you draw it.
Yeah.
They're
Absolutely.
constructed so that it's never a free burn where you're sitting there going, "Oh my God, I'm just overloaded."
Yeah. So I mean, if not for the construction issues, this thing would have been above a 90 for me. I mean, I thought it was complex as hell. Really enjoyed the cigar smoking experience, despite the crack in the wrapper too. Like you got to think about that and just how that still performed, the hot spot and
Yeah,
how it corrected itself. I
it
mean, there's a
got
lot of
past
things.
all that.
Yeah, I think if
Yeah.
if if that had been affected in a negative way and really like the crack had really started to pop and crack the wrapper, and then the
Or
hot spot really.
if the hotspot had expanded and interfered with your flavors. In other words, it solved itself. You got past that.
Hmm. Yeah, absolutely. I think it was on track to be a little bit lower, but the fact that it corrected itself, and how damn good it was, really
Yeah,
really recovered to make that 89. It would have been over a 90 had I not had those construction issues. It was a
right.
damn fine
Would have
cigar.
been top of the pops. All right,
Yep.
you mentioned another cigar that you had to fight a little bit.
Yeah, so the other one that I had to fight was the second cigar that I selected, which was the 10, number 10. It was a thicker Lonsdale size,
Yeah.
uh, not quite a Churchill, closed foot,
Hmm.
velvety to the touch on the wrapper. The aroma was really faint. There was like almost nothing to it. Dry draw was a bit stale and grassy. Um, Now some flavors hit on the light, baking spices. There was some faint pepper, a lot of cedar and hay and earthiness. Uh, the draw, while effortless, like you didn't really have to, you didn't have to put a lot of force on it to get smoke out of it, but you had to kind of keep an eye on it. If I put it down for too long, then you had to kind
Yeah,
of
you noted
really,
it went out.
yeah, it kind of would go out on you. So, um, the finish on the retro was very unique. Some fennel and salted caramel notes.
Yeah, you gave me great notes on this cigar.
Yeah. But for a
But
really
you
nice,
dinged it for performance. You dinged
yeah.
it for
Hmm.
performance roundly. Almost really there were performance elements about this cigar throughout your experience with it.
Yeah, like the flavors just weren't complex enough for me to really like, man, like it was compared to like the Corojo, the Avion 13 Corojo was just really um
Muted.
yeah, muted. The having to keep an eye on the burn, like I just had to keep smoking it in order to kind of keep that smoke production good. It really started to bother me, to be honest. And the second third really just became much more muted with just earthy and woody notes. And the lack of complex transition had me wanting, unfortunately. The
Wow.
retro kept me engaged with that kind of fennel and salted caramel, but I was just
Uh-huh.
fighting to keep it lit. And as I gave up on it going into the final third. I was just kind of upset. Unfortunately, it just was not a pleasant experience. And it was
You
the lowest
ready?
score. Yeah, it was the lowest scoring one. It was an 84-85 for me. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, you bombed this.
Oh, what is
It's
that?
the Tatuaje Monster 5 Redux, The Mummy, and you got remember how when these came out, everybody was going, "Oh my God, you have to get the tissue wrapped one from the center of the bundle of the
Hmm.
box of 13." You got one just like this,
Oh, goodness.
and
Oh, man.
when I was reading those notes, I was like, oh my God, what the hell happened? I swear, I feel like uh, these cigars were environmentally impacted because
Mhm.
both of those experiences are completely contrary to everything that had me, building them into this list.
Right. Oh, it's crazy.
So I am going to send you replacements, and I want you to just bury them and come back to them, uh, you know, in springtime.
I will. I will for sure. God. Oh man, this number 12 is this HVC is just unbelievable.
It's just a
It's
delight, isn't it?
mhm.
It's ridiculous,
Yeah.
and
I'm
it's so
almost
good
finished with
that
it.
you don't want to stop.
No. No.
Right? I mean, right there, that says a lot. When you consider, what we're doing and what we have and what's up, uh, it's pretty remarkable.
For sure. Oh man, it's just terrific.
So that's number 10. We did number 8. We did number 4. Let's talk about your reaction to number 7.
Sure. Yeah. So number 7 was the first cigar that I smoked. Uh
Right. And
other than
your notes were.
yeah,
Go ahead. Sorry.
other than the number 12, this was the second one that really caught my eye and I really
Right.
wanted
You
to
looked at it and said, I want to light that up.
yeah, I thought
Right.
this was probably a Tatuaje. But we'll find out here in a second. There was a pigtail
Well, tell me why. Tell me why. Let's talk about what happened.
there was a pigtail fan cap,
Yeah.
closed foot, toothy wrapper, um, and the more I smoked this, the more it just kind of you know, felt like broadleaf. But we'll find out what a second in a second. The ash was a little flaky. But the aroma was kind of damp wood and sweet stone fruits. There's a beautiful kind of almost like the way I kind of describe it is almost kind of like Cavendish, sweet tobacco coming off the foot. Hay, chocolate,
Cavendish. I like that
apricot.
note. Pipe tobacco.
Yeah, the first third was really delectable with sweetness, countered by some gorgeous like jalapeno chilies on the retro ale. So it was really well balanced. So there's just like you get this really nice sweetness in the mouthfeel, and just balanced by a gorgeous retro ale. The ash fell off after about the 2 inch, and it's surprisingly, even though it looked very flaky, it wasn't flaky at all. It fell into a
Yeah.
solid stack of
Chunk
diamond
in your
in the ash.
ashtray.
hmm Second, third, the earthy undertones became more dominant. The retro's potency had waned, but I still really enjoyed the cigar despite the transition um, to less provocative flavors. The finish on the retro hail was medium and distinct. The cigar finished well, still very rich. Some of the sweetness came back. So in the second, third, it kind of the sweetness went away, but it kind of came back, which was really cool. But it was kind of masked a little bit by the earthy profile, but you could still get more of that sweetness that was coming back. I did like on the last third though, I was getting pretty low on it and it was tasting really good still. And then I took one hit off of it. It just turned really acrid and I was like, nope, not going to risk it. And I put it down.
Mhm.
I didn't want to go any further than that, but I smoked quite a bit of it.
What did
And
you think of the light when it was, because it was the closed foot and you were just tasting the wrapper?
Oh, some beautiful sweetness off that tobacco. It was just great. It was just great. Holy shit. I
Yeah.
mean, just unbelievable.
Ridiculous,
hmm
in my opinion. I
Yeah.
so I mean, I'm a pig. I bought as many of these as I could. You ready?
Go ahead.
There's the cigar. You recognize the shine of the wrapper. There's the
Close foot.
closed foot. There's that beautiful pigtail, right? Let me see if I
hmm
can get that in the picture. See that?
hmm We got
Pork tenderloin.
pork tenderloin. Yep. Here we
Pork
go.
tenderloin, the Redux. This is the new version of the original, dude.
So
So
good.
again, it's not the Tuxtla, it's not the San Andres, it's a different animal. And the wrapper, being able to smoke the same cigar released in the same year with essentially the same amount of time, but to smoke this wrapper versus the San Andres.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, what a privilege! What a lesson in cigar smoking. I this when I lit this up, I was like, oh my god. I have to. I was immediately lobbying. I actually bought bundles of these from three different tobacconists
Oh wow. Yeah, it's really good.
because
It's really
I,
good.
I love this cigar. So I love it so much that it's what I'm going to smoke right now.
Awesome. Fantastic. Well, let's go in. I'm done with the number 12, and I want your
Yeah.
advice on going to one, two, or three, what I should smoke next. And then we'll do a fun
Uh,
segment as I light that up.
well, okay, cool. What I'm going to say is I want you to smoke number three.
Okay. Okay. A larger cigar
Yes.
and
Well, larger ring gauge.
larger re-engage. It's kind of like a Toro.
Yeah.
Really nice oils coming off the cigar. The wrapper is
Oh,
really
it's
beautiful.
yeah,
Uh, here we go.
yeah.
And
Look at that. Look how beautiful it is.
yeah, it's good. This really nice velvety texture. I mean, some veins here and there, but overall, very flawless wrapper.
It's got a great hand feel, though. You put that cigar in your hand, and you're rolling it around, looking at it, going, "I can't wait to light this." I want your cold draw story.
Okay, here, let's do that real quick. Oh, that cap just comes off beautifully.
Yeah.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah. See.
Hmm. Some nice sweetness,
Hmm.
breadiness, baking spices, a little bit of hay.
Yeah.
This is gonna have a great draw. This is the perfect draw on the
Yeah. That
Carbo.
cigar is above reproach construction wise.
Awesome. All right, let's get some aroma off this. Let's toast that foot, see what kind of comes
Hmm.
off of it. Ooh, ooh.
Yeah. That aroma.
Mm-hmm. Ooh. That doughy breadiness kind of comes
Mhm.
through.
But the question is, what does that translate into?
Yeah.
That's what I'm excited for.
Ooh, there's some nice pepper now coming into it as well. Ooh, kind of
Yeah. Yeah.
stings the nostrils a little bit.
Yeah.
Oh, oh, that draw is phenomenal.
Mhm.
Oh my gosh, that smoke production is beautiful.
Yeah, it's like once you get that going, you think to yourself, this cigar is practically going to smoke itself. I'm just along for the ride.
Ooh, that retro is gorgeous right off the get.
Now, can I tell you one thing? This is the last thing I'll say about the cigar while you're smoking it, because I just want you to, share with us as it unfolds. But here's when I lit that cigar up the first time, I was like, oh, my friend, I was so thrilled. I loved it. And right away, I'm thinking, this is a winner. But you know what I was? For the first third of the cigar, I was literally like, please, please, please don't disappear. Don't fall apart. Don't take a runner on me. Just keep giving me these flavors. I was so enamored by the experience. I was like, I want it to last.
This is gorgeous.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh.
And remember, think about it this way. We were just raving about that HBC La Rosa, right?
Yeah.
And you smoked this, you lit this cigar up with virtually no, nothing in between. So for that cigar to be registering these flavors, they've got to be delivering you, in spades.
Yeah.
I that cigar, it's stupid how good it is. I I'm sorry. I'm really in the bag for it. But again, I don't want to say anything more.
Ooh, that mouth feels fantastic.
Hmm.
There's a kind of a viscosity to the smoke a little bit that just coats the palate really nicely.
Well, yeah, I was thinking it. I think what happens is there's some carameliness. There's some mapley caramelly quality that comes. That's part of that. The richness, the viscosity. It's crazy. I love it.
Oof. Oof. Yeah. Damn. This is good.
Hmm.
This is very good. Holy cow. Oh
I am
man.
so thrilled that you think so.
Gosh. This is really nice. All right. Well, while I'm enjoying this cigar, let's go ahead and go into our
Hmm.
next segment, which is
Yeah.
brought to you by Artista Cigars, which is truly the last hidden gem of the Dominican Republic with nearly 70 years of rolling cigars. The family behind Artista believes in honoring their long held traditions of handmade artistry. Artista's blends include factory exclusive tobaccos and front marks for every budget. In fact, Artista has one of the most varied portfolios on the market today. There's something for everyone at Artista Cigars. Now, if you're like me and can never decide what to smoke, Artista's Cigars is a breath of fresh air because I could take something from nearly every box that Artista has to offer, and I know I'm going to get something truly special. So, George, as you know, this is a this or that segment. I wanted to give a little bit more some provocative choices here, but it is meant to be kind of a rapid fire. So,
Okay.
we're going to kind of go through some this or that's that have a little bit of some extremes to it. So, um, and can perhaps, some of these answers might seem obvious, but I wanted to get your take on some of them. So let's start off
Okay.
with a legendary blend that has a bad draw or an average blend with a perfect draw.
Average blend with a perfect draw because you're going to enjoy it.
Yeah. I feel like the if the draw is perfect, it really brings the cigar together. So like even more average, average tasting blends or cigars that are like, okay, like I can enjoy it a lot more. One of the cigars that comes to mind that I think has a sensational draw, and I smoke a ton of them, and I've always said it, and it's interesting because it's one of their kind of forgotten pieces in the portfolio and really don't get a lot of fanfare, but Perla Del Mar from JC Newman
Oh,
is one of those unbelievable. Just like
yeah.
there's nothing ostentatious about the blend. You're like, it's not like you're sitting there thinking, talking about like all these complex flavors and all this other stuff. And there's not a lot of complexity to them. They're very straightforward, but man, they have every time you light one up, every single time that draw is absolutely perfect. And it
Yeah.
just makes for a great smoking experience.
Yep.
Unbelievable. All right. Next one. Since we've been talking about limited editions, right? So would you rather have an overhyped limited release or a forgotten core line?
Mm. Well, you're preaching to the choir here. Forgotten core line every time. I am the champion of overlooked, undersold, undersung, underappreciated. I'm always going through the back catalog and going, here is a winner. This is a fabulous experience. You're cheating yourself if you don't do it, as opposed to, ooh, this thing just came out and you've got to get your hands on it. Because most of the time, the hype is going to be so loud and there's going to be so much about it that you're almost always overbuilt. and whatever you get underperforms. So give me the magic of a classic core line cigar that people may have forgotten about.
Awesome. So here's one. You've as you mentioned before, George, you've been smoking cigars for a long, long time. Uh, and thousands upon thousands of cigars that you've smoked. But let's talk about experience or environment. Would you rather smoke alone in silence or smoke with someone you don't like but respect?
Oh no, smoke alone in silence, even though I worship the social aspects of cigars. You want to know the worst cigars I ever smoked? Sitting next to an asshole. You can have a wonderful cigar, and if you're sitting with a jerk, you're not going to like it. You're not going to have a good time.
Do you have a specific story in mind? Any classic moments where just someone to just just rung your bell the wrong way?
Yeah, but I shouldn't say it.
Okay.
Don't make me do that. I was at a factory one time, and there was someone there that I just couldn't find a way to disconnect. I kept grinding my gears, going, I want to strangle this motherfucker, you know, and I could not give myself to the cigar. I was like, no, you know, I just in my head I'm inventing 99 ways to murder this person, right? And it was what, by the way, one of the things that I was reacting to was that he was they were destroying the vibe for everybody that was there. So we were all being done an injustice.
Hmm.
That's okay. You know, listen, there could have been, for all I know, there could have been people there going, "Oh, that guy's really funny," you know, and everything else. And didn't, for me, man, I was like, dude, if I could, I would have that cigar explode in your face. But I'm telling you, it in so 50 plus years, 53 really, but um, working in it, not just being a cigar smoker. The worst cigar experiences I ever had were absolutely informed by the fact that the person that I was with was making the entire experience unworthy. Just you couldn't enjoy it.
Yeah, I've had those moments too, for sure. All right. Would you rather have a perfect first third and then an awful finish, or a slow burner that gets great late in the smoking experience?
Mm. Now this might be controversial. People might really disagree with this. I will take a perfect first third, and I mean really a perfect first third that doesn't necessarily fulfill itself all the way through, because you can always put down a cigar.
Right.
If a cigar is wasting my time to get to, if I'm smoking a cigar like this and I have to wait till the band in order to be enjoying, to be satisfied, to be sitting there going, wow, this is what I want it to be all the time. Are you kidding, man? I want to, that makes me crazy. So because I go like, what the fuck, man? You couldn't make this happen earlier. I got to wait to hear. What did you do wrong? No, no, no. So a quick story, and I'll try and edit it down. When I was at Davidoff, relatively early, I had sort of, I'd kind of made a name with all the stuff that we were doing, and some ways that I changed some of the cigars that we had. The original location of the store was 535 Madison, and the building was called the Dillon Reed Building. The white shoe financial firm. And one of my really good customers was a guy from Dillon Reed. And he came down to me one day and he said, listen, there's a guy coming in here towards the end of the week, and he's a really important client for us. He's a big cigar guy. I want you to come up and do the full, to introduce him and tell him about your cigars, and just give him the whole dog and pony show, right?
Yeah.
The day before he comes by and reminds me, don't forget tomorrow's the day. You got to come up to the office. This guy's going to be there. It's really, I'm like, dude, I got it. I understand. I'll be there. I got everything ready. You don't have to worry about it. Everything's fine. he comes and gets me, and we go around. I got this humidor and all this stuff that's there, and I'm taking it upstairs, 30 floors up to the big shots quarters, and they take me into this office, and it was a huge office. It's the biggest office. I swear to God, you could have landed an airplane in this place, and he had a gigantic desk, and there were monitors and all this stuff that was there. But the guy that was sitting behind the desk was a sort of a small guy, and I'll never forget this. He had at the time he had a speakerphone running on the desk. Don't forget, this is '80s. We're not talking about cell phones and everything. He had a he had a speakerphone going on the desk. He had a little handheld like a display, and he had another phone working. So this guy was having three conversations, and he was speaking in English and French and Hebrew, I think. But anyway, he was going back and forth with all these people on the phone, all these conversations, and he's like, he tells me come in and sit down and right there, and he's smoking a cigar, and he's got these conversations going, and he's not really saying anything to me, but he's kind of signing me, please, relax and everything else. And he snaps his fingers for the girl that was there, and says, it's just like, get him something to drink, like you want coffee or something like that. And then he shoos her out of the office, and he goes to me and he points to this humidor that was on the credenza behind his desk, and he's like, go ahead, pick a cigar. And I open it up, and I open up the humidor, and it was filled with the most beautiful Hoya de Monterey Epicure number twos. Absolutely, like, first of all, one of my favorite cigars of all time. But these were like the avatars of what a perfect Hoya de Monterey is supposed to look like. The wrappers were so silky and oily. The shade was gorgeous. These cigars just looked like, oh my God. And I looked down at them, and he's like, oh, please go ahead, help yourself. And I realized I'm totally fucked. There is nothing I have in my humidor. None of these cigars that I brought up to show him and wow, say, oh, this is our special Zeno cigar for the store. And then we have this and all, nothing. I was like, oh, I'm fucked. I'm completely screwed, right? So he puts one guy on hold, and he tells another guy, I'll call you back. And he tells the other guy the remaining conversation. He says, hang on with me right here. He says, I got this kid in my office. I got to talk to him for a minute, but I'll be right back. So he looks and he goes, all right. He says, how do you like that? And I'm like, oh, a Hoya de Monterey Epicure. No, this is in the days when Hoya Epicures didn't have bands. They were all naked, right? And there was a twin cigar to it from that same factory, which was the Juan Lopez number two. And they didn't have bands either. But I said, you got a humidor full of Hoya de Monterey Epicure number twos? I said, how can you go wrong? And he looks and he goes, oh, how'd you know that's what it was? I said, one look told me everything I need to know. But when I picked it up and smelled it before I lit it, I knew exactly what it was. This is fantastic. And he goes, so what do you got? I said, nothing. And he goes, what? Excuse me? I said, nothing. I said, nothing I brought up is even going to, if this is what you smoke. And he goes, oh, that's cool. I like that. Stick around for a minute. And he goes on, goes back on the phone with the other guy, and he's going through this stuff. Anyway, he's doing all this in the middle of like he's back on two conversations with me in there right there, and he puts his cigar down in the ashtray, and while he's talking on the speakerphone, he gets up and goes back over to the humidor and gets himself another cigar and cuts it, lights it. I'm like, no, you got the one in the ashtray like that, and he's like, like that, forget it. And all of a sudden, I look around, and there were like 5 ashtrays in the place, and they all had Hoyo de Monterey Epicure number twos, which was one of the hardest cigars in the world to get at that time. And they were all smoked about that much, right? And he picks it up and lights it. He goes on with the conversation. He's smoking for a little while. He puts it down. He walks back. He gets on the conversation with the other guy. He's right by the humidor. He picks out another cigar and lights it up. And I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe this. And I'm like, no. So finally, he finishes 2 of the conversations, and he leans forward. He goes, that was good. You told me you didn't have anything for me. He says, I'll still come downstairs. We'll get some cigars and stuff. He says, but I just want you to know, I appreciate your pointing that out. He says, but I got to tell you, I only like the first 10 puffs. So that's all I smoke. One of the most desirable cigars in the world that people would fucking
Wow.
give blood to get their hands on. And getting a box was like, oh my God, I scored. This guy's got fucking, 200 in his humidor and he's smoking this much of the cigar before he puts it down and lights another one.
Nice.
His name was David Vey, and he was one of the most influential financiers in all the world. But I just love that, and it was phenomenal. What a lesson that was. He's like, hey, that's the part of the cigar I like, so that's what I smoke, and there you go.
There you go.
So if someone this or that, that might be the longest version of an answer to that you've ever heard. But to that last question, it is absolutely smoke the part that you like and fuck the rest. If you can put it down. So if it starts out bad and you have to wait, you're never going to get there with him or me for that matter. Next.
Blind tasting forever or knowing the brand every single time. I think it goes
Blind
a long
tasting
way.
forever.
Nice.
Blind tasting forever. There's nothing better than the adventure of, oh, here's a new cigar. What is it? What am I, do I like it? Do I love it? Do I hate it? Is it what just the joy of exploring what a cigar has to give you is the greatest reward.
Nice. Would you rather do, let's see, uh what have a cigar that was ruined by price or one ruined by hype?
Oh, I'll take one ruined by price every time because I can forget that if I need to. Hype annoys me. I don't, it doesn't matter. I mean, if a cigar has been built up so endlessly, when you smoke it, some of the joy is leached out of the whole thing because you've listened to all this bullshit. And you're sitting there going, okay, it's that, but is it all that? No. Guess what?
Awesome.
If it's expensive, you only smoke 10 a year. Who gives a shit?
There you go. All right, last one. Never smoke limited editions again or never smoke core lines again.
Ooh, wow. There, that's a really hard question. I think you have to find a secret companion, and he gets one side of that proposition, and you get the other, and you trade cigars when you're hanging out.
There you go. Love it. Awesome. Well, that was our this or that segment brought to you by Artista Cigars. And so we're gonna continue to smoke this number three cigar. Man, this one is got some strength to it. The nicotine's
Mm-hmm.
hitting me pretty hard, but it is so flavorful, and I'm just really enjoying it. The draw is impeccable. The construction's immaculate. It's got some gorgeous spice. The finish is really long and pronounced. Like I said, the nicotine's hitting me
Yeah.
pretty hard. It's a very strong cigar, very sneaky.
Uh-huh.
Um,
Good description.
yeah, good nuttiness to it. Some a little bit of sweetness in the baking spices. The pepper is just like I said, long.
Just right. Just
Hmm.
right. Not too much, right? Not
Yeah,
too
it's
aggressive.
yeah, the pepper isn't too aggressive or anything. The nicotine definitely is because I am definitely feeling it on this cigar. It's crazy, but I'm really enjoying
You
it.
still have coffee left?
Yeah,
Should help you a little bit.
awesome. Well, I know I got a lot to go on this particular one, but why don't we do a reveal on what I'm smoking here on number three?
Sorry if I'm sounding like a broken record, but the cigar you're smoking is the Don Pepin, my father, Don Pepin JJ 20th.
Okay.
And dude, that cigar, do you remember Jerry Cruz? Did you know Jerry back in the day?
Yeah. Hmm.
Jerry was the guy that filmed me in all the original Draper dialogues.
Hmm.
My video, you know, 15, 18 years ago with all the legends. Jerry was the guy who made that happen. It was his camera and his audio and his persistence in, oh, we have to document this.
Yeah.
He was a great guy. And Jerry, the JJ, there was a JJ made to tribute the son that he lost at tragically at a very young age. So
this is truly
The JJ has a real special place in my heart. But
that's gorgeous.
I think that cigar is ridiculous. It's
Yeah.
so there's so all the things I'll tell you this. I have a friend who I respect his palate and his interest in cigar makers in the world. A really savvy guy. His name is Rick Chambers, but he said to me recently when we were doing a blind session, says I one of the things I do is judge a cigar by what it's missing, and that can be, it can end up being either positive or negative, right? In other words, but basically what he was saying is, if it doesn't have any of the things that piss me off about a cigar, it's up there in my book. In other words, if a cigar doesn't have construction flaws, if a cigar doesn't have a burn issue, if a cigar doesn't have a troubled middle with maybe the flavor breaks down before it comes back, then it's getting to flying colors. And I think that is so right because, in a sense, that is a lot like the original cigar aficionado rating sheet for blind testing, which is a system which has categories of judgment, and you have a maximum number of points in each category, and you ding it based on what you're experiencing. And that's, to me, you start out with the idea, okay, this is a great cigar, or it wants to be a great cigar. What's wrong, or what's missing, or what doesn't it deliver? And that's how you learn.
Yeah, definitely. God, man, this is a truly great cigar.
Oh,
Man, man.
it's marvelous. And you want to talk about a cigar that's overlooked?
Hmm.
How many people do you know that even know what a JJ is?
Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah, it's one of the more unsung heroes in the portfolio, for sure.
Yeah.
It's a cigar that gets missed quite a bit, I would say.
Hmm.
Um, I think that talking about the My Father factory specifically, I know we talked about the first release out of its Honduran factory, but like for
Yeah.
the last few years, for me it was kind of hit in waves. So for a while there, it felt like My Father couldn't miss with a lot of their blends that they were releasing.
Yeah.
Either under the My Father label or under the Tatuaje label. Then it kind of went through My Father specifically, not necessarily on the Tatuaje side, but on My Father specifically, it kind of hit this weird lull. I was not a fan of the Judge. I was not a fan of the La Gran Oferta. I liked the La Palencia, but that was a very polarizing blend that a lot of people didn't like. La
Mhm.
Promesa was another one that kind of missed for me. And but after that, it just seemed like they really kind of hit a stride with it. The Libijou 100 Años was an unbelievably amazing cigar.
Unbelievable. In
Um,
and each of the sizes had a different character.
yeah, yeah, it's
But
really good.
you realize what you just described? A bunch of the things that you think are the dip are cigars that they made for Ashton, for Holtz.
Hmm.
They were part of that portfolio, not part of the regular My Father portfolio, and certainly nothing to do with Tatuaje.
Yeah, indeed. I think that that's one of the things that, particularly the cigars that they manufacture for Ashton. The La Aroma de Cuba is probably one of the more underrated cigar brands that are out there. San Cristobal is another one. I really enjoy the Revelation
And how about Flor de
line,
las Antillas?
and Flor de las Antillas is fantastic. La Antigüedad was another cigar that came out right after that one that was just a fucking banger. I love that smoke. That's
But
fantastic.
it didn't. La Antigüedad didn't catch fire.
No, it didn't. But like the H2K CT was really good. The CT was really good. Um,
Mm-hmm.
it just seemed like very early the kind of the early part of the teens. They were really kind of, like I said, they were on fire ever there for a while, and then
Mm-hmm.
it just kind of, for me, it just hit this interesting lull. That just you know didn't really capture my palate very well. but then they just came back with this in the last few years. It's just been incredible. Everything they're releasing.
Lasting.
Yeah.
One, as you say, one banger after another. I mean, just unbelievable.
Yeah.
What a run by a factory. But part of that I think was overexposure. Making so many things and having to spread the portfolio around. Um, between what they did for themselves, what they did for Ashton, what was happening with Pete, and some other clients. Um, the need to make this diverse a portfolio with all these different elements, I think put a strain on where they were in terms, and maybe there was a little what's the right way to say it? Maybe some identity drift, and then they locked
Mhm.
on.
Yeah. All right. There's a couple more cigars that we can go through. Um,
Well, yeah, let's talk about your the things that you've already smoked.
mhm.
You pick the next one.
Let's talk about number six. So, this cigar was
Ooh,
interesting to me. Um, it was a Toro, a
yeah.
darker. I'll use something out of your book when you smoked the Christoph that I gave you. A mean looking cigar, very rustic, a lot of oils, very gritty, a lot of molasses and figs,
Yeah.
hay on the dry draw, and then upon lighting, there's a lot of coffee and earthy, woody flavors dominating on the light. Ash was a little flaky. The draw was really good, and so was the burn. The retrohale was short, so not my favorite there, but the mouthfeel was like full of roasted coffee beans, um, and um, and uh, and just very. It reminded me of the old Partagas Blacks.
Mm. I remember you
Old
wrote that
Partagas
in
Blacks.
tasting notes.
Yeah, yeah. The to me the rapper had to be San. It has to be San Andreas. I might be dead wrong on that. But to me, it just kind of had those qualities of it. The second,
Uh-oh. Recording stopped allegedly. Did you lose me? Because I'm disconnected from you now. Hopefully, all of you out there are still hearing this. I think you're going to be amused when I tell you what it is that he's reacting to right now. Uh, I picked it for a reason that's personal, but I was overjoyed. And unfortunately, I sent Bear the very last one of them that I had. I hope what's happening is Bear is restarting the channel. I think the recording is stopped, so I don't believe you guys are going to hear me.
George, can you hear me?
I can hear you, yeah. Were we off air all that time?
Yeah, I think so. I'm trying to get back online. So, first and foremost, I want to really say thank you to my audience for
For
hanging
being
in there with
patient.
me.
Yeah.
So, just been really, really appreciate the patience of our audience and stuff as we kind of get back online here. Got to back up to my backup plan here. Got to understand too, obviously, with the internet has been really straining, obviously, with so many people at
Yeah.
home. You know, it just it's been a real strain
Streaming
on me.
demand.
So um, might have to continue this inside, um, which will be nice to be warm, but I won't be able to smoke, unfortunately. But really, just really want to really appreciate my the audience and everything. So, as I mentioned before, as I was kind of saying about this particular cigar, um, the retro hell was really short. It's not my favorite, but the mouthfeel was really full of roasted coffee beans, toasted wood, dank earth. The flavors and feel consistent, like that old Partagas Black, like I was saying. Really thought the
Yeah.
wrapper was Andreas. As the cigar approached the last third, it became a lot more enjoyable. Salted caramel, rich notes of dark fruit. The black pepper offset it beautifully. So it was a really nice contrast in flavor notes, and it really rebounded for me
Uh-huh.
personally. But might have to move this inside here, George. So I'm gonna go ahead and go
Okay.
with my plan and everything. But while I'm doing that, why don't we talk about um, talk about how it what the cigar actually is. So this was the number 6 cigar.
Yeah. So you used my description of a cigar that we had last year, the evil looking. Uh, it's a four kicks. It's a crowned heads, four kicks, the mule kick, which is the special release, and this is the mule kick for 2025. And I don't have a cigar to show everybody because I sent you the very last one that I had. That's how many of them I smoked. I blazed through them. I was just thrilled. And I agree with you in one respect that you made. And it's funny, I wasn't really thinking about it during the time that I was enjoying them. The finish is a little bit the finish is a little bit shorter, and you have to get comfortable with smoking them before you realize what the retro hail is giving you, how it's helping unfold the flavors of the cigar. But boy, oh boy, does that thing deliver flavor in waves. It's really terrific. If you guys have not had that cigar, I urge you to go out and try and find some. And listen, I like the four kicks anyway, but the mule kick, the annual release mule kick, is it's you got to have it. You got to find it. You got to buy it, and then find out for yourself.
Yeah, I really enjoyed this, like I said. So we're gonna change up here. I'm gonna come back and we're gonna get hooked back up here.
Okay. Meantime, the cigar we were talking about before that you enjoyed so much, this thing is just delivering richness and that syrupy mouthfeel. It's crazy. This is the pork tenderloin that I'm smoking right now. I got to tell you, it's so well behaved. And again, yeah, it doesn't hold its ash the same way, but big deal because it's not flaky. It's not snowing in my lap or anything like that. It just doesn't, it's not one of these cigars you're going to sit and look down and realize that you've got the first half of the cigar still there in the long ash, but the flavor, oh, wow, what a dance. And by the way, again, partly because of difference in the blend, but though these two cigars, in contrast to each other, in other words, the Crowned Heads Mule Kick, the Four Kicks Mule Kick, compared to the pork tenderloin, these rich, meaty, I call them knife and fork cigars. They're just you can't stop, you can't put them down. These are the kind of cigar that they're stuck to your fingers. You can't stop.
For sure. Yeah, and I man, I really that cigar really rebounded for me and
Mhm.
really became a really pleasant experience. It was really great. So one more second here.
Yeah.
Trying to I know. Speaking of rebounding, trying to get something going here.
Any chance you can fire up the laptop inside and then go back to the garage and see if it holds its connection?
Trying to. Trying to. Here we go.
You getting there?
Yeah, getting there is the word.
Mm. What will it matter if people don't have anything on screen? Oh, there we go. Now you're
Okay.
back. Okay.
This
So
is
what I was going to say is you take the mic and now you're on the screen, so we're okay. Let me duck out for 1 minute and then come right back. I'm going to get a
okay.
refill on my beverage for one thing. But
Well,
uh,
again, one of
keep
one yeah, I was going to say one more time. Just want to say thank you to our audience for
please. Thanks for
and
hanging in there with us.
yeah, exactly. This was just one of those bizarre experiences as we
Hey
kind of just
man,
try to go through everything.
we're lucky we haven't lost power, and we're lucky that the streaming quality has been as good as it is, and we're still getting good definition on you.
Yeah, it's been a little frustrating, obviously, but again, can't thank the audience enough. Um,
All right, I'll
yeah,
be right back. I'll be right
yeah we
back. Tell them a little
we
bit
stayed
more
on air.
about
Yeah,
your yes,
good
a
deal.
little
So
more, a little more mule kick.
So we've gone through several of the limited edition cigars that George provided for me. So smoked a lot of them blind and really enjoyed them. The A lot of the Tatuai products we went through, um, you know, the HVC 520 La Rosa 520 was a beautiful figurado that I smoked. And the Corojo Avion 13 Corojo that had some construction issues, but the flavor was excellent as well. And really enjoyed that cigar too. The one that I had the struggle with that George really couldn't believe, unfortunately, and it was more on the draw than anything else, was the that just kept fighting and fighting, but the flavors were nice. Was
Tatuaje Mummy Redux. And then, of course, the first cigar that I smoked was the one that George is smoking right now, which is the new pork tenderloin, not the Tuxla. It's still the original blend, but just the different vintage, if you will. So I've really been enjoying this exercise. And the last cigar that I was smoking was the JJ from my Don Pepin. Gorgeous cigar. Kind of again a Toro size. Really heavy on the nicotine, but gorgeous bouquet. Unbelievable flavor. The draw was impeccable. The construction was impeccable, and it's just been sensational. So really have enjoyed this exercise. George will be back here in a few minutes. Here again. Thanks to our audience for hanging in there. This has been tumultuous. Our connection just hanging on by a thread and everything, but we're hanging in there. We're doing good. We're doing good things, and we're rocking and rolling. So. Really appreciate everyone for their patience and everything as we kind of gone through this and stuff. We're gonna we've wrapped up our Artista segment. We're gonna go on to a next fun segment once George returns. We'll go through a couple of these other cigars that I smoked during this exercise. So won't be smoking it looks like for the remainder of the show, but at least I'm a little warmer. I know George will be a little jealous as we were fighting single-degree temperatures across the country this evening and into the early morning. But really appreciate our audience. This is our 353rd take. The top limited edition cigars of 2025, as brought to you by George Brightman. And we're sitting here and enjoying these cigars. So, all right, George is back.
Hey, all right. Oh, good. That was a good summary of so far. I am now. Even though I was doing a dry January, I made a damp January in your honor. So I had a little sip of something at the start of the month. And I'm closing now with another little treat. This is a special Maker's Mark barrel pick by some friends of mine at McClellan's Retreat. Did a sensational job. I'm particularly enamored of this product. So I figured tonight was the night that I could sort of creep into my the damp portion. So I'll enjoy that, and that'll keep me from complaining about the temperature because I'm losing degrees steadily. I was in the low 50s, and now I'm in the mid 40s, and so I'm starting to feel it. But anyway, we're good. You
all right
have now. We pretty much covered the mule kick.
Mm-hmm.
And I like the way you were lauding the Don Pep and the JJ 20th. So we're getting to the top. Now, let me ask you one question. And you tell me, do you want to keep going and explore a little bit more? I think you have at least one other cigar that you smoked that we could discuss before. Do you want to table the rest of the examination and do it in a week or two when fits your schedule?
Yeah, let's do that for the just the benefit and the quality of everything that we're doing. Allow me to go through the rest of the cigars too. Let's go through the rest of the fun segments, and then we'll talk about at least one more cigar that that I did smoke. I think that we did number 7. We talked about number 10. We still need to hit on number 9 and and we'll still need to do number 9. So, and then we can do the rest.
Well, you want to start? You have a fun segment to do first, and then we'll go towards the one that the other cigar you've smoked.
Yeah, let's do a couple of fun segments actually, and then we'll kind of end with the number 9, and then end with the curveball segment and everything. So, and this was really fun, George, and yeah, I appreciate the flexibility wanting to come back and kind of wrap this up, because there's so many great cigars, and definitely have enjoyed it. So, this next segment is brought to you by Pastani Cigars. If you always make sure that your serving style is bigger than your appetite, everybody will always get theirs. Pastani Cigars is more than just great cigars. Pastani Cigars is more than just great cigars made by cool people. They embody an attitude of gratitude and grit. With Pastania, everybody eats. So with the cold weather, George, I was thinking about this. When the weather turns super cold, I always kind of gravitate towards certain dishes, and one in particular that I love to eat during really cold weather, and love to make and really love to eat. So I was thinking about asking you the same question. When the weather turns really south like this, what is a dish or food or something of that nature that you really gravitate towards, that you really enjoy?
There are two. They're both the same origin, and I love them both because I make them, because I learned how from my aunt. One is a cottage pie. She always called it shepherd's pie, even though it wasn't lamb. We had a beef version. So it's cottage pie. In America, everybody always says shepherd's pie, no matter what meat is in the dish. But shepherd's pie. And man, I love that dish with a passion. And the other is similar in a way, and it is chicken pot pie, a double crust chicken pot pie. And
Nice.
I make it with fresh vegetables. In other words, I cheat in one respect. I typically use a Costco rotisserie chicken and pull apart the chicken from that, and that's what goes in. So I don't have to roast the chicken first and do it. So I'm buying a rotisserie chicken, pulling the chicken off, fresh vegetables. Sometimes they are fresh vegetables that I got in the summertime and froze specifically so I can make chicken pot pie in January and February with fresh vegetables. But and of course, crust that I learned to make from my aunt and my grandmother. And they're both of them are. Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead. No, go ahead, please.
Both of them are soul satisfying, hearty. They're when I'm making them, I can't wait to get to the moment when I can dig in and start. And if you're asking me if I make the crust for the pot pie, of course I do.
Nice.
I make the crust for every pie that I make. But chicken pot pie in particular, I have a savory crust, which is actually different than the typical pie crust that I make. It's less sweet. It's a slightly different mix of flour. And I love the act of making it, but more than anything, it's like I can hardly wait for it to cool down enough to dig in and give myself a slice.
Nice. Yeah, so when the weather turns cold, the one thing that I love to make, and I have two versions of it. I have the quick, fast version that I did earlier today, and then I have the more grown-up adult long version that I make when I'm just when it's just me and Frankie or something like that. But the answer is chili. Love chili. I am a true
from Texas, man. It's your birthright.
Exactly. I am Texan. There are no beans in my chili. I definitely am of the argument that you can have some beans in chili, but it's no longer chili. It's just a really nice hearty beef stew at that point.
Right.
And it doesn't make it any less delicious. It's just not chili.
Chili.
my quick version just involves, just like some more ground beef stock, tomato, and it's made with just spices, and it's obviously got an onion. Tomato paste is really essential, and
Yeah,
you have to fry the tomato paste, otherwise it doesn't bring out the flavors as
doesn't
well.
bring out the flavor.
Yeah, and so that's the quick version. Longer version for me is I will fire roast jalapenos and poblanos. I will make a chili base out of dried guajillo and ancho chilies, and then that will go in. That'll be blended up, run through a sieve, and that reduction will go into the chili along with beef that's been rendered down. It's typically like a chuck or a short rib, in
Mhm.
addition to ground beef. And I also add chorizo for good measure, and specifically beef chorizo, not pork.
So is the
And
long version a day or a 2 day project?
it's a day. Yeah,
Huh?
it's a day. Yeah, but still long.
Yeah.
It's roughly like 6, 7, 8 hours, where the short version can be done in like an hour or two.
Hmm.
Um, so, but I had the short version today, and the kids loved it, and I definitely loved it. It was great for some cold weather.
Well,
So
that's awesome.
good stuff. Good stuff. All right. Well, our next segment is brought to you by Asylum Cigars. Refuge is more than a physical place. It can be a state of mind. Some of life's greatest reflections can be found in our own personal asylum. Moments like these were made for Asylum Cigars, so light up an asylum and choose your refuge. We talked a little bit about environments, and particularly those who ruin the cigar experience earlier in our rapid fire segment, George. But um, what is your favorite place to smoke? Where do you find your refuge with a cigar? Is it on that patio that we find yourself on when you do the show? Is it at a shop? Is it somewhere else?
So my answer is really two things. If I have to do a professional evaluation of a cigar, either for myself or for publication or sharing, something like that, I prefer to be right here in this setting, preferably when the temperature is about 20 degrees warmer than it is now.
Right.
But I like the ability to be a little bit contemplative, to smell only the cigar that I'm smoking. In other words, to have all the time that I need to tease out what I'm tasting, to be able to record and reflect and go back. In other words, I sometimes you a cigar surprises you. There's something in it, and then you spend a little while chasing it, and maybe it comes back, and maybe it doesn't. But you need to be able to assemble all that. And if you're doing it in my other favorite circumstance, which is in a great cigar lounge surrounded by friends. And for me, that place is Capital Cigar in Bethesda, where I have been, smoking cigars with many of the people that are there for more than 30 years. And the camaraderie, the comfort, the joy, the satisfaction. And by the way, that same group of people is sort of a traveling circus. We can do it more than one place, and we do it in each other's homes sometimes. But it's very powerful, and the it's the reverse of what I told you about how to ruin a cigar, even a good cigar. If you're smoking amongst great people, you're going to find that your level of satisfaction and enjoyment is off the charts compared to sitting next to a guy that you want to run over with your truck.
Indeed. There's something, God, there's something wonderful about having that space that you're talking about at home, and then there's something also about that home shop experience place that you've gone to, and people that you almost consider family and everything. Talk.
They are family.
When was the first? When was the first time you said you've been there? You've gone there for 30 years. I mean, if
Yeah.
you can, I mean, your memory is as good as anyone I've ever run into. George, very reminiscent of like even my own father, who had a steel trap for a memory and everything. Those first visits to Capital Cigar 30 years ago, what was that experience like, and why was it so capturing and captivating that it ultimately became like a second home to you last 3 decades?
So the answer to that is that it was actually in a different building, in a different location. It was a different iteration. Capital Cigar is like the actually the fourth variation of the place that I walked into. So in the early '90s, I was obviously at Cigar Aficionado, starting the magazine, and we were watching the ripple effect of everybody wanting to be in the cigar business. And I came home to Bethesda on a visit, and while I was there, somebody said, "Oh, there's a new cigar store in Bethesda." And since that's where I started my cigar journey as an actual employee of the industry, in other words, at the old Georgetown Tobacco Store in Montgomery Mall, which is only, well, I don't know, 2.5 miles from where this shop in Bethesda was located, I was like, wow, there's a shop in Bethesda. Who runs it? And people are like, oh, I don't know, some guy, whatever. So I walked in and introduced myself, and it was in a little house in the middle of what was growing up. Bethesda had transformed from what it was when I was a kid, which was a sleepy little suburb thing, into this thriving business and a great community. But I walked in, and the guy that owned it was really funny. He was a serial entrepreneur, but he had, I think, strictly by virtue of his personality, he had attracted this group of people who were, locals. And when I walked into that place, I immediately felt so at home. I was talking with the people that were there, and you're establishing. You know what happens when you go in a cigar store and you start talking to the customers that are there. Who do you know? Where have you been? All these elements of your, not just your cigar smoking experience, but your own background, your youth growing up and everything. Because I'm talking, I'm saying, hey, I'm George Brightman from Cigar Aficionado, but fuck you guys. I grew up, I was here before you were, I'm a native, and it was spectacular. It was so great. And not that long after, the guy that had started the business ended up selling it to one of his customers, who is Mike Copperman, today the boss of CRA, who has become
Mhm.
one of my most treasured friendships of my whole life. An incredible person, unbelievably thoughtful, has a great palate, and truly loves the cigar industry. But Mike bought the business from Bart Sims, and turned it into Bethesda Tobacco. It had been JB Sims before, JB Sims Tobacconist. He turned it into Bethesda Tobacco and presided over an incredible era, forming this extraordinary group of people in this little house in the middle of tall buildings around it. The house was trying to fall down from the moment that they moved in there. And when it became apparent that the house was probably actually going to collapse around all of us when we were sitting in there smoking cigars, he went out and found another space, which was only 2 blocks away, which was an old building that had the same owner and the same occupants for 30 plus years, basically since the war, and transformed it. He designed one of the most thoughtful and inspiring layouts of a cigar store. Look, I urge anybody who comes to the Washington, D.C. area to get your way there and experience this place. And believe me, there are great stores in Washington, D.C. There are other places that I could talk about that I also have significant commitment to and attachment to. But so Mike ended up getting fatigued. He became more impassioned with the legislative end of the business and defending, which is how he ended up being a part of Cigar Rights of America, which was then a very young. And he sold the business to W. Curtis Draper, which is the oldest cigar store in the Washington, D.C. area, the oldest surviving, certainly, started in 1887. which was then run by the third set of owners in 125 years. And so I was a part of
Oh,
creating
wow.
the 125th anniversary cigars, and which were made by Guillermo Leon and George Padron and Carlito Fuente and Pete Johnson. They were all extraordinary smokes, and that was another generation. So I worked there for a while and helped in a lot of ways to sort of grow that business. And they then ended up struggling through some things that were landlord related, all kinds of issues. And they ended up selling that business to a lifelong friend of Mike's, who I knew very well because he was a customer at the little shop in the very first days in the early '90s. Who literally is Mike's high school running buddy, and he said, "I think I'm going to buy the shop." And Mike's like, "Don't do that. Don't, it's like it's work. It's a job. It's not fun and all that." He tried to talk him out of it for months, and Payam bought it anyway. And what Payam did in the most assiduous and detailed and thoughtful and creative way, he restored that shop to what Mike's vision was for it 25 years earlier, and it's magic. The place is incredible. It's so visually it is still in the place that Mike designed, but in terms of execution and air handling and the quality of the furniture and the curation of the humidor, which obviously I had my input because I was so invested in this place continuing to be our spot. Um, I'm telling you, it's one of the great stores in the country. And I started out at one of the very best stores in the country and learned my trade under David Berkebile at Georgetown Tobacco, one of the great tobacconists of this country, period, paragraph. So for me to make that leap represents a lot.
Yeah, a lot of history there in 30 years. That's awesome that you've been able to help continue that.
The group of people that have formed it's just the easiest example of what makes a cigar store such an incredible place. In other words, I firmly believe that cigar stores are the last truly democratic institutions in this country. And by democrat, I don't mean the party, I mean the notion of democracy. Cigar
Yeah,
stores are the places where, as I always say, the bank president and the auto mechanic can sit side by side and enjoy each other's company and share their thoughts and respect each other in a way that they would if they ran into each other on the street, they wouldn't even acknowledge that the other one existed. And that only happens in cigar
dude,
stores.
sweet, awesome. Well, guys, we table the discussion around number 9 to go with all the other ones that were unsmoked, and I will make sure that they get smoked in the next couple of weeks. We'll get together shortly after we conclude today, and we'll get to something on the books that aligns with our schedules.
We'll you let's make our schedules mesh, but I really don't think we don't want to compress what's happening because there's some glorious stuff ahead of you in this.
Yeah, definitely.
And we should make the most of it. We should tease it out because you don't look. You have some other like you and I will have a conversation, and I might suggest that there's one that you save for smoking when we actually do the live, whenever 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4, whatever it is. We'll work our schedule and see. But I don't want to give short shrift to where we are right now, which is getting to the denouement of the whole tasting process.
Absolutely. So let's go ahead and we'll just go ahead and end the show here and conclude it like we always do with our Dunbarton Tobacco and Trust curveball segment. Fastballs or curveballs, it doesn't matter. Since the company's inception, Steve Saka has been knocking them out of the park. He's done it again, folks. 11 consecutive years in the consensus top 3. Congratulations to our good friend, Mr. Steve Saka. Number 2 on this year's consensus with the Solita Red. So congratulations to Steve for hitting the consensus top 3 once again. Unbelievable run.
He's probably designing. He's probably designing a way to hit the maker of the number 1 consensus cigar.
It was the My Father Blue. Yeah, that was what I was alluding to earlier when I was saying how I completely just apparently missed it. So, but we'll go ahead and get to the curveball segment here. So,
yeah,
George,
go ahead.
This might be the most difficult question I've ever asked you, but I thought it would be fun. So, if cigars were eliminated tomorrow, what replaces them in your life?
I would say the friendships that I have built around cigars. That bond, the time that you spend, how you share each other's pleasures and pains. In other words, the legitimate friendships that you form, where you become, enmeshed in each other's lives and share, the triumphs and the tragedies. It can't be replaced. There's nothing else in life that is as rewarding and as fulfilling as real friendship. And cigars do so much to facilitate that. And I'm just blessed that I've been able to spend so much of my life in and around the cigar industry with the incredible people who make up the community of cigar makers, cigar industry reps, the retailers, and the consumers. That community is more enmeshed than in any. I mean, even think about the food business and think about the liquor business and the wine business. They have many, many similarities in terms of the idea that it's an Epicurean pursuit and you love, all these different aspects. But nowhere are the communities so close and so respectful of everybody's mutual role in that. It does not happen in other industries the way it does in the cigar business. So, as I say, sustaining the friendships.
Awesome. Well, that's beautiful, George. Thank you. It's for all the amazing patience tonight and hanging with us for this wonderful, wonderful experiment. The great news is we're going to continue it, and we've got some more cigars to smoke, and we're going to be joining you guys at a different date. We're going to be going through the rest of these, and thank you to you, George, for the amazing gifts of some of these cigars, all of these cigars. It's just an incredible experience. Definitely.
Well, we have some good ones. We have some good ones yet to get to.
Yeah,
and I'm just glad that we can put this on the docket. And look, don't impose any standards on yourself in terms of the timing. If it turns out that it's better to wait, 6 weeks or whatever, let's do it. Don't lose the thread, but also don't force that it has to be in 20 days or whatever. Okay.
Awesome. Let's do it. So really appreciate everyone. As I said before, all those likes, shares, and comments, keep them coming. We're going to be rocking and rolling through these next couple of weeks with some great guests and a return of George to complete this wonderful experiment. If you are tuning to us live on Facebook tonight, we broadcast nearly every Sunday night at 9:30 Central, 10:30 Eastern, or later on our YouTube channel. Our video broadcasts are always current. Cigar. Nick began his career in the industry at the age of 18, much like George, working in a cigar shop. State Connecticut. He went on to work for a well-known cigar company, Drew Estate, where he developed some of the most popular blends. In 2015, he started Foundation Cigar Company to create a unique and flavorful cigars that would appeal to from everyone from the novice to the most experienced smoker. If you are listening to us later on audio broadcast, wherever you listen to podcasts, whether it be on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Play, Podbean, or wherever you listen to podcasts, our audio broadcast is always courtesy of our friends at Gran Habano Cigars. Honest, compassionate, great cigars. Be sure you download, subscribe, and review today. Check us out wherever you listen to podcasts. And as always, we really do appreciate those likes, shares, and comments. Like I said, keep them coming. As always, this was our 353rd take. It was a little rocky, but it was a beautiful experiment. And the great news is we're going to continue this. So this is fantastic.
Yeah.
And we'll see you here in a couple of weeks for this one. And we'll see you in the next couple of weeks with some amazing guests as well. We'll get to those announcements. Check out our Facebook page where you can get all those announcements as everything with this upcoming guest list. We've got some great ones coming. So 2026 is just getting started. We'll figure out this internet thing one way or another. And besides, Texas can't be under snow forever. It's just impossible. So we'll get it squared away. I'm Bear Duplisea, live from inside my house, but normally from the Alec Bradley Lone Star Studio of Azle, Texas. He's George Brightman. Guess what, everybody? We'll see you next time.
Thanks. Peace out. Great job, Bear. Appreciate it a lot.